last meeting, a hard look at this development and stay true to Londonderry. We've read through the master plan of the town, and we've tried to incorporate a lot of those things that we feel that the town would want to see in a development like this. As you flip through, I have gained a significant amount of resident and brokerage support for this development. A lot of residents throughout the town that are based, we call it, between the ages of 25 and 50 years old, with different support for this project, mainly for the main reason for the relief that we're asking is not just for our wants, but we really feel strongly that we are in the midst of a massive housing crisis. And the housing crisis has to do with an inventory shortage that no one seems to really have an answer on, but we feel that we can provide some relief to that with a project like this. If you go through any of the support letters from the residents, or any of the support letters through from brokers, and we didn't just ask any Joe Schmo broker or real estate agents. I focused on the top agents in the southern New Hampshire area that have been doing this for the last 15 to 30 years, and they were able to provide, written testimonies based on what I'm telling you tonight with the inventory shortage crisis that we're experiencing. I also, once you get through all those letters that in support on both resident and brokers, if you flip to what I consider to be, some of the most important highlights is in my mind, this is the most important information of the evening because it's not based on my opinion, but these are actually based on true facts and what's actually happening in the housing market in New Hampshire. This information that I provided is from the New Hampshire Association of Realtors. And if you were to go onto their website and look at their last top 6 headline articles, there is not one of them that is not emphasizing the inventory crisis that we are in. This isn't just affecting, obviously it's affecting that we have no inventory, but what the biggest problem is it's skyrocketing prices. And what we're trying to do is try to market development more towards a middle-class family. As I spoke to you guys last time and made it clear, we've been developing in Londonderry and Salem and Pelham for many years. We are at the point now where building a 3,000 square foot house is becoming so expensive to market that it's not what we want to do. It's not what we feel that the consumer wants. So that was our whole idea of this project: shrink down the homes a little bit and try to control some of the costs and be able to market this towards more of a middle-class family or first-time home buyers. Communities like this, we feel, are just really, really overlooked. It's always looked at as, oh, you want more units, more units. But the reality is we feel that people that are between the ages of 25 and 45 years old, they want to focus on the most important things in life, those things being family, friends, and their careers. The day and age, the millennial does not have the pride of taking care of their yard or snow removal or all these things. They want to focus on time and being able to provide as much time with their family, friends, and work. And then being in a community like this offers the opportunity to meet new friends, create a community of people that are like-minded. And as you can see on our site plan, we've offered plenty of opportunity and space in this development where people can gather and be able to do what 25 to 45-year-olds do, all within their community. So I guess in my closing statements on this, I would just focus on that, homeownership is the cornerstone of building a strong community, as well as securing financial independence for those lucky enough to be able to afford a home versus renting. This development, it provides an acute need for housing that is desperately needed and is going to be marketed towards a middle class family, like I said before. And the main thing that I keep trying to stress is this development is density relief we're requesting. It isn't about greed on our end. This is about a need. And that is my biggest point to you guys tonight, and when I ask for relief for these two variances.
Thank you. Laura, for those that were not present in the audience, do we have to go through the 5 points of law that were presented the first time around?
Go back to the applicant and see if he wanted to add anything to those 5 points.
Okay, all right. Will you be going through the 5 points or the ones that you had on record from the last time that you were here?
I think at this point, we'll, based on the record that was there, obviously if questions come up, then we'll address it, but, you know, I don't see at this point a need to essentially reread what was already put into the record.
All right, thank you. Is there any input from the staff at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to read the memorandum.
Memorandum?
Yeah, you got
There
it.
we go.
Yeah. From the Planning Department, the Londonderry zoning ordinance, LZO Section 4.2.2.3.b, provides for the permitted density for multifamily housing. For developments proposed to be served by on-site septic systems, there must be at least 14,000 square feet of area per dwelling unit. In addition, permitted density is further subjected to the density requirements as required by the minimum lot size by soil type, with the modification 1 and 2 family bedroom units lot size by .65 and 3-bedroom units lot size by .85. The purpose and intent of the inclusion of soil-based density calculations is to protect groundwater quality and to promote public health and safety. LZO 4.2.2.3.b.1b. For this reason, the LZO is intentionally more restrictive than the New Hampshire DES soil-based design loading capacity for septic systems. Based on the soils data submitted by the applicant, staff have determined that in accordance with the zoning ordinance, the subject parcels have a total permitted lot density of 20.65 3-bedroom units, not the 35 that's being reported. So if the board is not completely clear with our numbers, then I would recommend that you don't vote on it tonight until you can meet with staff and be completely clear on the numbers. And I do have one comment on the 5 needs bases. If I remember correctly, the hardship that was mentioned at the last month's meeting was the ordinance itself. And that's not the way it is. The hardship is supposed to be inherent in the lot, not in the regulations.
Did everybody understand that as far as the regulations? Okay. Great, thank you. The applicant, do you have any questions of the staff at this time?
We don't. I've spoke with Nick, I've spoke with Laura and Colleen all about this, and I understand where Nick's standpoint was, and what we were looking for is, like I spoke with him before, when they asked us to file for the continuance in December, was the main thing is we were looking for relief from that table. We were looking to follow the state's DES soils density calculations, and that allows us to have up to 67 3-bedroom units. We weren't trying to max that out. That was never our plan. You know, we were, like I said to you before, it wasn't about greed. My whole game plan here was to come in with 50 units that would be based off of, we were going to try to sell at a market rate. And then I also, as I described to you guys in the last meeting, the additional 5 units that we were trying to propose were going to be of this plan right here, that we were going to try to afford, to price in an affordable price range, to follow kind of the New Hampshire, not workforce housing, but like we did a development in Salem where we had to follow a medium income for affordable housing. And that's what we were kind of looking to shoot for in this development as well. And we were going to try to steer it towards Londonderry residents. That was our game plan with that. And that's why we were asking for the increase in density.
And what is that medium number that you say is?
The price range, when we did it as of a year ago, this plan was it was actually about 2 years ago, was selling at $319,000. If I had to guess, that number is probably closer to $330,000 to $350,000. I'd have to double check exactly, but it's all based off of a medium income. At that time, you couldn't make more than $72,000 to be able to afford one of these homes, and that's the type of guidelines that we were looking to follow again. And I also, like I said, I brought my engineer, Kurt, here to kind of take everyone through soils and stuff like that and understanding what these soils can actually withstand for gallons per day of waste. And if you would, I'd be more than happy to have him present any information on this reading and understanding these soils so that you can understand that we're not just looking to pump the ground full of waste. These soils can withstand a lot more than we're proposing, and we're not trying to max it out. I'm not looking to pollute the land by any means, and I know that some of the public had they were against it because they thought that there was a significant amount of wetlands that we were going to be, as you can see from the site map that we have in the delineation, I mean the wetland flaggings, there's barely any wetlands on the property, and if where the leach fields are located, those, once again, we're trying to kind of keep away from that area.
Does the board have any questions of the applicant at this time?
Yeah, I have a few questions. So you're proposing 5 of them?
That was our plan.
Possibly for?
No, like I said to you guys last time, if we were able to get the 50 units that the 50 market rate, we were going to be able to offer the 5 units. Any unit that would go under it, obviously the amount of affordable units that we would be able to offer would be less. I don't have an exact number for you on that, but, we're proposing the 55 units that's based off of 50 units of market rate, and then 5 of them that would be presented as in this floor plan right here, which is my Lancaster plan, which is in the front of the package.
So that's a total of 55 or 50?
Excuse me, 55 in total. 50 market rate units that would be based off of these top plans right here. Couple variations here and there, and then this plan right here would be the one that we would be marketing towards
But
the
the 5
affordable.
wouldn't be guaranteed, correct?
5 of them would be guaranteed,
It
yes.
would or wouldn't?
It would be if we were able to get the 50 units.
And how much square footage are these?
These are about 23 to 2,500 square foot. They're 3-bedroom plans. We're looking at them as starter homes. I'm a real estate agent as well, so I have a pretty good feel for what's going on in the market. And the reality is there's so many people that are buying their first time home. They're buying either a 1990s style colonial, and these people are in bidding wars for these style homes. And they're bidding on these homes in an unhealthy market. They're overpaying for them, and these places still usually require 60 to 70 grand worth of work just to bring it up to date. Or they're paying what we're anticipating marketing these homes for split levels. I mean, I'm trying to offer a community that, yes, we're getting a little bit more density, but that allows us to kind of fluctuate, allows the pricing of the project to be a little bit more controlled. And I think that anyone in this crowd or anyone that's up there can understand, wouldn't you rather buy something like this than, and I'm not cutting down any, I'm just telling you, I literally saw a split level home that was, built in '86, selling in the 600s. And waiving all inspections, that's not healthy purchasing. It's not a good market. It's not sustainable.
So what's to say that these houses won't do the same thing and go way over market?
Well, we're going to follow the market. I'm not going to lie to you, but my game plan is to advertise these to the middle class family. It's not a 3,500 square foot house. I'm listing a home in northern Londonderry right now, off of Auburn Road, and anything that we're building over 3,000 square feet right now, you can't list it under $800,000. It's with the cost of construction and the cost of land for a single buildable lot. That's where current pricing is, and honestly, there's no end in sight. I mean, I have a pretty good outlook on what the cost of construction is going to be over the next year, and literally from everyone from siding to windows to roofing to lumber, I've had nothing but reports that they expect to see increases in pricing. I can't control those things.
Yeah, I agree with that, but you know, you're proposing here for something that's affordable. but
Yep.
With the market the way it is, and, you know, say a normal 3 year ago house was going for 300,000, now it's going for 5.
Yep.
So if these houses here, while they're smaller, they may not go for 5, but they may go way over.
The more
way over the-
inventory on the market, the supply and demand changes, and that's the
Right.
problem. We can continue to cut down densities all over the place, and all it's gonna do is continue to make the situation worse. This is gonna allow for a lot more homes, and then what else people don't realize is, I bet you in a development like this, you'll probably get 10 to 15 people that are from Londonderry that wanna be here. Maybe they have an existing home that now they're gonna sell their existing home. This brings affordability, this brings new things to the market, this brings down pricing.
But what I'm saying is, where the market is now, even a smaller house is gonna go higher than an affordability price. So even though you put 50 of them in, they're small, you know, they're smaller in size.
Yep.
They're lower than the $800,000 house, but they could go for $400,000, $500,000, which is.
I think that
out of the range.
realistically, I think you'll be in the $600,000 range on a home like this, which it seems very expensive, but for two incomes in the desirable area of southern New Hampshire like Londonderry is, that's a pretty affordable price. I'm not telling you that I believe that it is, but that's the current real estate market.
Right. Well, and the other thing is the hardship. Can you repeat what the hardship was? Because I don't remember.
Let me find John's thing. May I can expound upon the hardship a little bit. Basically, in the application spoke, the health, safety, and welfare impacts to the community are not enhanced by limiting the development to the majority of elderly housing. The parcel is unique in its feature and location is better suited for market rate housing. The development of market rate unrestricted residence on the site as proposed is reasonable. I would also add to that, there are cases such as Harrington versus the town of Warner, which talk about reasonable return on investment. Obviously, there has to be a certain amount of investment to develop any of these properties. And I think what's been said here is to get a reasonable return. Again, they're not looking for a maximum return. You're not entitled to a maximum return under the Harrington versus Warner case. But a reasonable return on the investment can be a hardship. That's, again, Harrington versus Town of Warner is a Supreme Court case from the, I want to say 2005 to 2010 range, somewhere in there. But, now, obviously here, I think the point that is trying to be made, they're trying to go in between. And we understand your point about the current market. But it also works the other way. Other people right now, basically, a lot of the choices, if you're a beginning family, condo, apartment, or you have the more expensive house up here. Right, wrong, or indifferent, the market is what it is, but at least with this, you are putting something in between. You're not going maximum size. You're also not doing the one that some people just don't find very desirable, which is the condo, particularly for a beginning family. This sort of thing does give you the opportunity for recreation on the site. It gives you a little bit more than what you would get in that sort of thing. So, again, in talking about a reasonable return on investment, this sort of thing, where again, you're not trying to maximize, you're trying to introduce something that is in between what for many is the only thing beyond the big house, which is the condo apartment thing, which again, not everybody wants. So I think for those reasons, under the Harrington case, there is a hardship in this case.
And I'd like to also bring up, over the last 2 years, this year alone, there's 34% less homes on the market than there was last year at this time. 2 years ago, there's 70% less homes on the market. So these skyrocketing prices, these are not our fault or anyone's fault. This is the economy. Like I said to you before, the cost of construction has gone through the roof for us as builders. So this is something that, we can't manage. I don't know where, and to go through a whole we don't know. I mean, there's also, no one else ever looks at it from this standpoint, but everyone always sees things are going up. But by the time, if we were able to get through and get any relief from these variances like we're requesting, and we go through the planning board, this is another year out before we even start. How do we know that the economy hasn't crashed by then?
Nobody knows.
We don't know that. That's a risk that everyone takes. So there's, we're rolling the dice that thinking that, yeah, we're building a little bit smaller, so guess what? If there is a market crash, we have a little bit more wiggle room in that as well.
All right, let me remind you of the burden rule in the ordinance and how it is interpreted by the 5 points of law. And I want to make that very clear because you did not answer the proof of burden here. You gave us an answer that you're going to quote a previous case. However, to make it clear, you must establish that the property is burdened by the zoning restriction in a manner that it is distinct from other similarly situated properties. So your reasoning about the ability to make money or profit, you must prove by the 5 points of law the burden of the zoning ordinance in this case. So when Dave asked you that, you sort of skirted around it.
Well,
Just my opinion.
okay, understood. As I said, the Harrington case was a hardship case. That's what one of the issues was. That was for the expansion of a manufactured housing park. And the basic argument there, this is somewhat of a unique situation. A, I believe with the rezoning, these are the only two parcels within this zoning district. Right there. You are surrounded by other types of zoning around you. If you are looking, and I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that you have similar residential developments.
To the north is Copperfield Estates, which is I believe that's the name of the street, is Copperfield, is a single-family development. And then to the west, there is Mercedes 55-plus community that's very similar in style of the housing, but it's focused on elderly housing. We wanted to get away from that. That was part of one of our relief from the 75% elderly housing. Obviously, the town has removed that from their zoning ordinance, so I wasn't going to try to shove that down their throat. We thought that coming up with a concept that actually makes sense and is what the public needs. And every town out there has shut down elderly housing because every developer out there comes in with an elderly housing development to try to maximize densities because of where land costs are. This is an idea that makes sense because it's actually what the economy in the area needs. This isn't just here. This needs to be happening statewide. We need relief from zonings boards so that the densities can be increased so that we can bring back a market of housing, so that there's not just, currently right now, there's a 1.5 month supply worth of inventory on the market. A normal, healthy market supports 6 to 7 months of a supply. There's no getting out of this without rezoning or help from zoning boards in relief on our densities.
So just to clarify, especially for everyone that's here this evening, the Zoning Board of Adjustment must follow the zoning ordinances that we are given instruction to. We must base the ordinances and weigh it out by the 5 points of law that you present. It does not matter about our personal opinions. It's about following the ordinances and then the litmus test for the 5 points of law towards them. So I just want to clarify that because you're making very valid points about maybe the housing market and what's going on. But we must stick to the 5 points of law here,
Yep,
okay?
absolutely.
And we can't deviate that.
Yep.
Okay? We can't deviate from that because that's not what we're allowed to do here.
100% understood.
Okay, so we're gonna go forward now. I'd like to open it up to the public.
Sorry, Jackie, can I just ask?
Oh,
I haven't
yes.
asked any questions.
Oh, you have more questions. Okay, please.
So I guess my first question is, based on Harrington, the reasonable return on investment, have you done a calculation of what your return on investment would be if you built 20 homes?
With the cost of the land, it's not a possibility. And if for instance, this isn't, obviously we've rezoned this property to R3. We don't want to go with the 75%, 25% because it's not what you guys want. That's why I'm asking for relief.
Okay. How did you decide on 55? What went into that calculation?
Well, the state DES allows for 67, and then we tried to kind of have a number somewhat in the middle, and also taking into account what the cost of land is, and just the cost of road infrastructure and development costs. There's a certain, as a developer, we're in the arithmetic business.
Right.
We do the math, and we're trying to have somewhat of a comfort zone that you go into something, because like I said, you can't foresee the future. We don't know where the market will be. So there's got to be some sort of a comfort zone. Underneath 50 units, this development, it doesn't work.
Okay. And do you have does you or your engineer, do you dispute the calculations that the Londonderry staff did, or do you agree with the calculation they've done of 20.65 units?
I'll have my engineer speak on that.
Yep.
I can get out.
My name is Kurt Miser. I'm with Miser Brim Corporation. We're at 202 Main Street in Salem, New Hampshire. Initially, we had prepared a site density calculation on our own, and I guess when you ask the question, do we dispute the town's methodology? We did initially, because the town is saying that when you come up with your number, you should utilize 65% of that number. And we were looking at that as if it was 65% of the total site. So we were in fact going up above the number that you came up with, and the town interprets it a different way. The key factor and issue, and understand, we are here for relief from that section. So whether disputed or not, that's what we're looking for relief from. And I think what Aaron was trying to get to earlier with you folks is scientifically, by the science, we would be allowed to have 67 three-bedroom units on this site. So DES has a set of calculations and a set of rules, and when we follow them, we come up with 67. Someone asked the question, why we only have 55 on here? Well, what we tried to do is we tried to take the site and the usability of the land and fit the units in there. We tried to fit the infrastructure in there, which includes leach fields, play areas, ball fields, amenities that go along with the subdivision, as well as stormwater management and buffer areas from wetlands or sensitive areas, which we've done a great job at that. I mean, as you can see by the plan, there's a large portion of the site that is left as open space. So we've provided the community with open space areas, and that open space is utilized in a number of different ways. It's environmentally sensitive. It allows for animals, mammals, critters to live out there. It allows for protection from the sensitive wetland areas, as well as infiltration from stormwater and that type of thing. So our calculations, we've come up with, initially, I think it was 35 units, and we're looking for relief to go up to the 55 units. So I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, you did. I
Elaborated a
understand.
little bit more on that.
I understand. So you don't dispute the numbers that Londonderry came up with, but you're looking for relief from those numbers, essentially.
I guess I would say that we maybe interpret the regulation a little differently, but that interpretation is, it's, the town's, they're the boss, so.
Right.
That, correct.
Okay.
Suzanne, did you have some
I
questions?
did. Do we have the date on when this property was recently rezoned?
Oh, last year?
September?
Was it July? I think I get the meetings right.
Find out.
And while you're checking that, so I pulled the case that council referenced here, and it gives a very good explanation as the distinction between an area and a use variance, and whether the purposes of the particular zoning restriction is to preserve the character of the surrounding area, and is thus a use restriction. As you go through the case, they say the impact of the characteristic of the neighborhood is the central analysis to a use variance. So that is really the important criteria. Council did properly quote the impact financially, so he was on the money on that one. So this was just July of 2021. Okay.
And give it, that's when the public hearing notice, the legal notice was, so it was later in, looking for when it was signed.
And I will be clear, on the rezoning of this property, it was this concept, it was this idea. This is what got us through planning board originally. This is what got us through town council. This is what's brought us to you guys tonight. And because the project makes sense. And we're just looking for relief. And we're not even looking to do anything illegally. All we're looking to do is use the DES soil. Well, I mean, it's not like we're trying to put something in that's, like I said, damaging to the earth. We're following the New Hampshire DES soil requirements, and we're still significantly underneath them for gallons per day.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public. If you'd like to speak in favor of the applicant, you'll need to go to the mic and state your name.
Can we move those boards, since we can't see the people that are actually speaking?
I can move this.
Okay, thank you. Not have anyone?
Okay, let the record show we have no one that is in favor of the
We
applicant.
do have a number of letters.
Okay, at this time, might as well start reading in the letters into the record.
To whom it may concern, my name is Carmel Shea. I'm a 20-year resident of Londonderry, as well as the owner of O'Shea's Cafe and Tea. I'm writing this letter in support of Aaron Orso and DHB Homes' proposed development, The Farm. Over the past 2 decades, I've seen many things change in town, but the one constant has been the need for housing. Many people are drawn to this town for its quaint New England charm, highly recognized school system, and proximity to Boston. However, the thing that makes Londonderry truly special is its people and the sense of community that we share. The addition of the farm to Londonderry gives the town an opportunity to further strengthen that sense of community by bringing in new young families. These families more than ever value work-life balance and want to focus their time on friends, family, and community involvement rather than landscaping and snow removal. The farm will give them exactly that. There will also be a positive economic impact on the town and its businesses through increased tax revenues, job creation, and spending. This type of development would also help attract new businesses to meet the needs of a growing community. In conclusion, I feel that the farm would not only meet the growing demand for housing in Londonderry, but also continue to stimulate the growth of the local economy and position Londonderry for an even brighter future. Kind regards, Carmel Shea. To whom it may concern, I am writing in support of DHB's request to build the development, The Farm, on Young Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. I currently reside in a DHB home at 15 Wilson Road, Londonderry. We purchased this home as new construction in 2017 and could not be happier with the overall experience and quality of our home. The DHB team is incredibly professional, and the quality and workmanship of their homes is truly superb. Rising property values and lack of inventory have created a strain on the local real estate market, and additional high-quality and affordable housing options will only benefit the community. The farm is proposed as a homeowners association development, so the town will not observe additional trash or snow removal expenses. The proposed location, Young Road, offers future residents easy access to existing roads and I-93. In closing, I ask you to strongly consider approving DHB's request to build the farm on Young Road, Londonderry. The addition of more affordable, smaller housing will eventually bring down costs and improve the efficiency of the local market. DHB is a local family-owned business that builds quality homes that will benefit our community for many years to come. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 603-818-2384. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Respectively, Jamie C. Frederick, Captain, U.S. Coast Guard. To whom it may concern, I have known Aaron and Kate Orso of DHB Homes for several years. I met them both while searching for a new home. I've had the opportunity to tour both individual single-family homes, residential developments, and their condominium projects, all of which are well-planned and executed. I purchased a single-family home on 19 Jefferson Drive, Londonderry, New Hampshire from DHB Homes in October 2019. The process could not have gone better. In fact, in the 11th hour, the buyers of my previous home in Derry, New Hampshire, hit a roadblock in closing on their home in Pelham, New Hampshire. The domino effect caused a 2-week delay in my closing on the 19 Jefferson Road Londonderry home with DHB. Aaron was very understanding and accommodating given our situation. DHB Homes is an extremely reputable contractor/developer and build excellent quality homes. Their subcontractors are excellent as well. While many builders are content to build cookie-cutter homes with little regard for quality and style, DHB Homes are unique, well-built, and affordable in today's overinflated market. Aaron Orso, Kate Orson, and Rob Meisner are easy to work with, communicate well, and genuinely care about their clientele. I reviewed the concept for the farm and wholeheartedly endorse it. So much so that my wife and I may consider selling our current DHB home on Jefferson Drive and building at the farm. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions. Respectfully yours, Michael Lucci, 19 Jefferson Drive. To whom it may concern, I wanted to submit a letter of support for the proposed multifamily residential development plan submitted by DHB Homes LLC. I am a Londonderry resident and co-owner of the Title Team LLC, a women-owned small business located in Londonderry. As the owner of a local title company, I can attest to the fact that there is a significant housing shortage in southern New Hampshire. This type of development can help with the shortage as well as keep new construction pricing lower. New buyers seem to be interested in an on-trend home where snow and landscaping are covered in monthly fees. The plans are stylish and seem economical to build. The location of the proposed development seems perfect. It is surrounded by residential development. I feel confident writing this letter of support as my family recently purchased a DHB Homes LLC new construction home located at 1 Farm Meadows Lane. We absolutely love the quality of the home and we recommend these builders to family and friends. The whole process was seamless. Sincerely, Kelly Hamill. To whom this may concern, my name is Brian Hardwick of 19 Wilson Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. I moved to Londonderry 3 years ago from Dunbarton, New Hampshire, where I raised my family. I have been looking for a buildable lot that fit all my family's needs, and when this opportunity presented itself, I knew it was something I could not pass up on purchasing. I have always wanted to build my home from the ground up, and this is what I was able to do in Londonderry, where to this day I couldn't be happier living. I own a framing company that I've operated for over 30 years with the hope of passing it along to my son soon. Finding work in new developments has never been an issue over the last 30 years, except for the Great Recession of 2008. The current real estate market is a true concern for tradesmen like me, and the continued housing inventory shortages in the southern New Hampshire real estate market proved to be of great concern regarding the bleak and uncertain future for all tradesmen in the area. When Aaron asked me to support this project, I knew it was something I had to get behind. People want to live in southern New Hampshire, and with workplace dynamics changing to more at-home working, people who were once forced to live in locations for commuting reasons have found that New Hampshire is where they want to be. A development like this is what the state and Londonderry need in a first-step effort to resolve our current housing crisis and protect hardworking tradesmen like myself. Thanks, Brian Hardwick, 19 Wilson Road, Londonderry, New Hampshire. To whom it may concern, my name is Greg Buchanan of 19 King Charles Drive, and I have been a Londonderry resident since December of 2015. My wife, myself, and our 2 children love living in Londonderry. I actively follow planning and development projects that are on the monthly agendas to stay in touch with the direction of our community. As a successful and respected contractor myself, I continue to see that there is an extreme housing shortage in the southern New Hampshire residential real estate market. After reviewing the proposed development on Young Road, my family and I strongly support this type of development and believe that a project of this nature is truly what we need to start seeing in all highly desirable southern New Hampshire towns such as Londonderry. The only way out of the current housing crisis shortage is to build our way out via new construction, which starts with increased densities and communities based on concepts such as being presented in Londonderry, aka the farm. Thank you very much for your time. Sincerely, Greg Buchanan. To whom this concerns, my name is Nick Thibodeau of 45 Auburn Road in Londonderry, New Hampshire. My wife Carrie and I purchased our home in 2012. Since then, we've been lucky enough to grow our family and now have 3 amazing children that we are raising in this town. We've been in the market for a new home for over 3 years and continue to be haunted by the consistent headlines of inventory shortages. This has been frustrating and at times feels hopeless with no relief in sight. Over the last year, not only has the inventory shortages affected our search, but also the cost of homes has skyrocketed to the point of unaffordability, with sellers trying to capitalize on the enormous increases in home values. I am not one to get involved in other people's business, but when Aaron approached me and asked me to review the project he's proposing on Young Road, my first questions after reviewing the concept package were, one, why aren't all towns allowing developments like this? This type of development simply makes sense for the current consumer age, approximately 25 to 40, to have a community that takes care of itself regarding landscaping, snow removal, and trash removal. Amenities like this ensure a development stays looking pristine and holds its value into the future. Additionally, an HOA development allows towns to benefit from increased tax revenue that will not be reduced due to the fact of snow removal and trash pickup are included in the HOA. My wife and I are both self-employed on top of raising our children. And I won't lie, we don't have time to take care of the exterior of our property, and this adds stress to my household. I wish that these units could be 4-bedroom units so that my family could benefit from a development like this, but instead we're hoping the home prices can level out so that we can actively continue to pursue our search for a new home in this town. Please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, but as stated above, this is the type of development that needs to get approved in 2022. Thanks, Nick Thibodeau, 45 Auburn Road, Londonderry. To whom it may concern, my name is Jill O'Shaughnessy, and I am the broker-owner of Jill & Co. Realty Group of Salem, New Hampshire. My company, composed of 35 full-time real estate professionals, sell homes predominantly in the southern New Hampshire area. We work with numerous buyers every day looking to buy specifically in the town of Londonderry due to its convenient location, excellent school system, and numerous restaurants, shops, and entertainment. Statewide, we've been experiencing inventory concerns since 2017. Over the last 2 years, that inventory concern has become a real issue. In 2021, the average month supply for the state of New Hampshire was 0.97. That means it would take less than 1 month for all the homes in the market to sell out, given the monthly sales volume. I've been a top producing agent since 2004, and I've never seen a market quite like this one. The majority of buyers cannot compete in a market with high home prices and very low inventory. It has driven many buyers to bid hundreds of thousands of dollars over market value in order to buy a home. We've experienced firsthand the disappointment from so many buyers who cannot afford to outbid 20-plus other buyers on a purchase or don't feel secure dropping contingencies to make their offers stronger. The inventory issue is partly due to the overwhelming number of buyers and the lack of new listings. Even though the equity cash out is incredibly desirable for sellers, many don't want to sell because they don't want to be a buyer in this market. At the pace we are currently at, I predict the 2022 market is very similar to the 2021 market. Major inventory issues and rising home prices. We can help normalize the housing market at the local level by allowing for more new construction properties to be built. New construction will help calm the inventory issue by opening up a new market for buyers. My company and I hear it every day from buyers. I'd much rather just build new because I don't want to compete with other buyers in the resale market. Currently, many towns' zoning regulations are not in line with the housing market. These zoning regulations need to be revised to allow for more builds. Most buyers, especially those searching in a town like Londonderry, place more importance on the actual home and less importance on the lot size and maintenance. A larger lot size requires more time, energy, and money. Since the pandemic, the average buyer has a new perspective of what is important in life, spending time with their family and friends. Therefore, a new development is with smaller lot sizes or communities with an HOA covering exterior maintenance is highly desirable for today's buyers of Londonderry, New Hampshire. I hope the town of Londonderry will consider these first-hand experiences and market facts when deciding on density allotments for new construction developments. Jill O'Shaughnessy, broker-owner, Jill & Co. Realty Group. To whom it may concern, I'm writing to share my support in the proposed neighborhood, The Farm, for the following reasons. As a full-time realtor in southern New Hampshire for the last 12-plus years, I've had a front-row seat in witnessing the negative effects that the changing markets have had on the average home buyer. Just a few years ago, it was not outside of the realm of possibility for a buyer to have several dozen homes to select from in an affordable price range. A home that offered a sufficient amount of bedrooms, baths, and space for a growing family. For the last few years, we have seen inventory drop to anywhere between 10 to 20 homes for an entire town at any given time. With the desire to live in southern New Hampshire increasing by the day, buyers are subject to extreme bidding wars, terms that are unfavorable/risky, and pricing that is unaffordable. The style and layout of the proposed homes at the farm would satisfy a huge gap in the marketplace between conservatively sized condos and larger homes. The latter, which has been falling out of favor for most people as they are quite often a challenge to afford or maintain. The amenities that the farm will provide, along with moderately sized homes and affordable prices, will allow the average home buyer more time to focus on their career, their family, and their hobbies. All things which many families have been forced to pick just one. The proposed styles are what the consumer wants, and they are economical to build. Further, adding this neighborhood would prove to be a benefit to those that surround the proposed site. Considering commercial space, rental housing, or elderly would unfortunately negatively affect those close to the site. It has been said time and time again that the best solution to an inventory crisis is new construction. There's no better building team than DHB Homes. I have personally sold several of their homes, and all of my clients are extremely happy with the quality, commitment to excellence, and the process. DHB is committed to leaving their community better than they found, and they have proven that time and again. Thank you for taking the time to read this. If I can be of further assistance, please feel free to reach out at any time. Kindly, Catherine M. Early, Coco and Early Associates in Massachusetts and New Hampshire. To whom it may concern, my name is Mary Jo Driggers, and I have been a licensed realtor in New Hampshire for 18 years. I have been a top producer at Keller Williams on a steady basis and possess a real-time and in-depth knowledge of the Southern New Hampshire real estate market. I have worked on multiple occasions with Cedar Crest Development and many other developers in the Southern New Hampshire area. Since the start of 2020, there has been a consistent and severe housing shortage in Southern New Hampshire. The number of homes on the market has dropped significantly since only 2020, with a current supply of less than 10 homes on the market in any price range in the entire town of Londonderry. As you know, Londonderry is a highly desirable town for families for many reasons. Low crime, fantastic schools, great extracurricular activities, plentiful shopping, restaurants, and more. However, many families and individuals alike are pushed out of being able to purchase in Londonderry because of close to zero supply and an extremely competitive real estate environment for those homes that are for sale. The farm is an ideal community for the town of Londonderry because it brings plentiful supply to the area. Many millennials are looking for a new and relatively affordable house, not one that they need to spend their precious time and hard-earned money fixing before their family can even call it home. Additionally, an HOA community which includes snow removal, trash pickup, and lawn maintenance is something that most people strive for in today's crazy world. Being able to spend extra time with family and friends is the most important thing. Life is short and should not be taken for granted. The style of the homes presented by Cedar Crest Development for the farm are not only aesthetically pleasing with great curb appeal, but they're also functional on the interior, featuring open concept living and great kitchen space. People today need well-designed and well-planned out space, but do not necessarily want huge acreage of land and 4,000 square feet plus of living space requiring endless maintenance and costs. Overall, the farm is something that would do Londonderry great justice. I live in Salem and would also 100% support a community of this nature should it hopefully be presented at some point in the near future. Thank you in advance for taking the time to read this letter. Please feel free to contact me with any questions or concerns. Sincerely, Mary Jo Driggers, Realtor, Keller Williams, Gateway Realty, Salem. To whom it may concern, as a real estate agent in Southern New Hampshire, I was thrilled to hear of the proposal of the farm development. In a market that has presented us with overcoming the obstacles of minimal inventory, high demand, and a fierce competitiveness, this project is exactly the development this area is in need of. With the significant shortage in housing, the development will help with the demand for new homes and keep new construction prices lower. In my personal opinion, this location fits perfectly in the already developed residential area and would complement it well, rather than other options of commercial business or apartment complexes. These stylish homes are not only economical to build, but they meet the needs of today's buyers. By providing the sought-after on-trend home where snow and landscaping are easily taken care of in their monthly fees, this leaves buyers more time to enjoy with family and friends. Overall, there are endless positive outcomes due to this development, and I would be happy to see this project begin. Please feel free to contact me with any questions and concerns. Kindly, Amber Tomlin, Keller Williams Realty Metropolitan. To whom it may concern, our company does the majority of the mortgage lending in Southern New Hampshire, and I have been one of the top 5 loan officers in the state of New Hampshire for the last 5 years. Because of that, I have extensive knowledge of the needs, wants, and the challenges of buyers in this area. What we really need locally is change in how we are building homes. We need to do something different to alleviate the inventory problems we are having that are driving home prices through the roof and are making it nearly impossible for new homeowners to purchase homes. That is the true American dream, and we're making it all but impossible by not doing something different than what we have done for decades. Our local towns in Southern New Hampshire will thrive, and our communities will succeed by bringing in young families that will pay taxes and support the local economy. I believe that this project that Aaron Orso and DHB Homes is proposing will solve many of those challenges. By building these communities, more young families will be able to purchase homes, and that will only help support our local towns. The current zoning ordinance that has made this very challenging, which in turn makes it so builders are unable to build starter homes because of the cost that it takes for them to make a profit selling a single-family home. The planned unit development are also what these young families are looking for. They want to have the amenities that go along with it, such as snow removal, trash pickup, landscaping, etc. They want to spend more time with their families and less time doing home maintenance. This is what we all want. Let families enjoy each other and be part of the communities that we all love so much. Additionally, we need to think about how it helps the local economy. With regards to my business, it will allow us to do more loans, which will then support my staff, local home inspectors, local appraisers, and local real estate agents, not to mention the employees and contractors that DHB will employ while building the project. If we can bring in 50 new families by building these homes rather than 10 to 15 with current zoning ordinances, this will help bring in more tax dollars and revenue that will be spent in the community. This will help local business owners that have been struggling through the challenges of this pandemic and will only help to boost the local economy. I see firsthand working with home buyers how difficult it is for them to purchase a home because of the home inventory shortage and how high the sale prices are. I've got buyers that I've been working with for over a year that have been unable to purchase a home because of the shortage in current prices. By allowing projects like this, we can fix that shortage. Londonderry can be one of the towns that is doing something different, and the tax-paying residents of Londonderry will be the ones that will benefit here. I would seriously consider allowing this project. From what I can see from a financial and economic standpoint, it will only be a success. Sincerely, Michael Cormaford, Premier Mortgage Lending.
Well done.
Good job. A lot of reading.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any opposing? Please come to the mic, and you must state your name.
Jackie, I do think there's an additional 4 other letters that we just received this evening that were in support.
In here?
It's,
One moment before, we've got, I guess, 4 more letters.
They're in a different spot? Oh, I've got 5.
Okay,
Are these 5? I apologize.
all right.
Town of Londonderry, I would like to express my interest in the approval of the proposed Young Road project. As a Londonderry resident since 2015, my family has benefited from all that our town offers. Our family of 4 have all found our path in the suburban oasis. One thing that is lacking in our town is affordable single-family homes. This project will, in my opinion, provide young families with the opportunity to experience the Londonderry difference and begin making memories of their own. Brad Demkowski, Town of Londonderry resident / volunteer. To whom it may concern, I am writing today in support of DHB's request to build a new development in Londonderry, New Hampshire. As the president and owner of a local title company, I confidently say the housing shortage is having a drastic effect on the industry. The housing shortage in the state and across the country is driving the median price of homes to something we have never seen before in this great state. We are seeing buyers overspend, waive home inspections, and take on more risk due to the lack of inventory. As we continue to try and attract young people not only stay in New Hampshire, but come and live in this beautiful state, we need to do our best as the industry to open opportunities for those younger home buyers. The current density regulations in the state are only hindering the process of new construction we are so desperately need. Without rapid new construction, median home prices will continue to soar, making southern New Hampshire no longer an affordable living option. We need to do everything we can to help drive these costs down. Easing the density regulations will certainly aid in this process. DHB's request to build this starter community will not only help attract younger home buyers, but also not create a burden for the town. Millennials are looking for the HOA communities where they are not responsible for trash removal, landscaping, snow removal, etc. With this being an HOA community, the town does not need to allocate resources for trash or snow removal. By lowering some of the density regulations, you are opening up opportunities to new home buyers and the town in general. These HOA communities allow folks more time for family and friends, creating a blossoming community that will have positive effects decades down the road. Please consider DHB's request and help make southern New Hampshire an affordable option for young home buyers. Respectfully, Kelly Rusa Cohen, President of Cohen Closing and Title LLC. To whom it may concern, my name is Trevor O'Brien. I'm a proud Londonderry resident and local realtor. My wife and I are grateful to live in a community with such great schools, wonderful recreation programs, and thriving small businesses. We couldn't ask for a better hometown for our kids. As a realtor, I know that Londonderry is frequently the top choice for buyers. However, the inventory can't keep up with the demand. I believe a development like Young Road is exactly what this town needs, a place for folks who are living in their current Londonderry home to upgrade. That, in turn, will make it more realistic for first-time home buyers to purchase in Londonderry. Every time I speak with friends here in town about real estate, the number one thing I hear is, we would love to sell and upgrade, but where would we go? I mentioned this idea to a friend the other day, and his eyes lit up with excitement. He and his wife have been dreaming about buying new construction without having to move their kids from Londonderry. Our fellow residents need more housing options so they're able to stay in the town they love. Thank you for your time and consideration. Trevor O'Brien. To whom it may concern, my fiance and I bought our first home here in town during the summer of 2020, and we could not love it here anymore. It has come to my attention that there is a possibility of Young Road development. Starting a project here in town has met some pushback. With inventory in town being so low and thus keeping current homeowners to not look to sell their houses for fear of not finding another one, I feel like developments such as this would be a great thing for our town to help grow and help with our economy. I would strongly support this and future developments. Sincerely, Nico Damasco. Town of Londonderry. Oh, that's a copy of the Brad Dempkowski. I don't have any others.
Thank you.
Okay, those opposed, you may, one at a time, come to the mic. State your name, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay? Yes. My name is Sarah Clark. I am 40 years old. I am a 14-year resident of Londonderry. I am an abutter to this property living on Copperfield Lane, 7 Copperfield Lane. Looking at the applications that the developer has submitted, for both variances, to me, I don't feel in any way, shape, or form that the developer addressed any of the 5 spirits of law, particularly pertaining to the density. They answered the questions to the best of their ability on the first variance for the elderly housing, but then when it came to the second application for the second variance request that they were looking for, they copied and pasted directly from the top to the bottom. And if you really look at their answers, to me, in no way do they address the 5 letters of the law, particularly around the substantial justice, diminishing value, and especially the hardship, as you mentioned earlier today. I feel in talking to a lot of my neighbors, our biggest concern with this is the density, but for completely different reasons. We all have young children. We're the exact demographic that these people are trying to promote. We all have kids that play in the road and live on our streets, and we frequently go from the Copperfield Lane neighborhood over to the Apple Blossom neighborhood that is kind of just a little ways down the road. The only way to get there is Young Road. Already, we significantly have seen, we've already seen a significant increase in traffic on this road ever since the Tupelo has been converted from the old music hall, the old Tupelo Music Hall, which is right on the corner of Young Road and 102, is now a daycare. Good luck if you want to leave your residence from the only means that we pretty much have through 102 is Young Road. Good luck if you want to leave to go to work at early morning hours or after work hours while that daycare is doing their prime drop-off and pickup times. I can't even imagine how much more traffic is going to be significantly increased with adding not just 35 homes, but 55. That's significant. Then you also take into account, okay, elderly versus workforce housing or affordable housing, however you want to word it. Most elderly people, oftentimes to reduce their expenses, have one car. They're not commuting to and from work. They are having a far reduced traffic impact, if you ask me. Then you throw in affordable housing with 2 to 3 bedrooms. You have kids, 16-year-olds driving. You're looking at most likely 2, if not more cars per household, granting the variance going from elderly to workforce. So that's my first concern, is that, right? You're going to increase the number of cars coming in and out of this neighborhood. And our problem with it, this doesn't go out on 102 like the Cross Farm one that's down the road a bit. This is coming out directly on Young Road. Both of those intersections on Young Road, and where Young Road meets 102, it's kind of like a little horseshoe, half-circle road. They are extremely dangerous. If you are coming from Hudson on 102 and you want to take a left by that fire station on 102, I don't do it. I go to the next intersection because it is so dangerous to turn left. And there's accidents there all the time. It's not much better going on the other end of 102 by the power equipment place and by Tupelo. But again, you're constantly battling that additional traffic. I don't see how in any way this is for the local public interest, meaning the people that live in that neighborhood who are going to have the biggest impact from this traffic. I think it's great. You have all these letters of saying how great of a builder they are. That's not being called into question. They could build the best homes ever. My concern is the density. I don't want extra traffic in our wonderful neighborhood that we have. I'm not opposed to development. I understand it needs to happen. It's part of economic growth and as part of, as communities improve. But you don't need to squeeze 55 homes where it's, now I hear it's really only allocated for 20 homes. I don't understand what changed between when they asked for the zoning request for 35 homes for the zoning change to now it's all of a sudden 55. So I would hope that after they hear from all the residents who are very much opposed due to the traffic concerns, since the only in and out of this development for normal use is Young Road. It does show a 102 in and out, but that's for emergency use only. So it is going to add significant traffic on that 102. The other issue is that I don't think they're just, I thought with an ordinance, it's like, oh, I am having a hardship, so okay, instead of the 20 homes, we're asking for maybe 30 or 35. No. Oh, don't worry, we could have asked for 70. Sorry, not buying it. They're asking for 55. That's a 57% increase. If that's not greed, I don't know what is. I'm sorry. That's it. You plug in more homes, you're going to make more money. I don't see how that benefits anybody. The other thing that I just want to make mention is the wonderful letters that were written in favor. None of them live near us. You look at the residents' addresses, they're in northern Londonderry, they're all over. They're realtors, they're loan officers, they are retailers that are gonna benefit if you squeeze more homes. I just don't see how a small, I don't see how a development like this, it's not gonna solve the nationwide economic crisis on homes. So I do also have with me today, and I'll share with you guys as well, we do have a write-up that was written by the bulk of I think every single abutter on Copperfield, additional neighbors on Copperfield, very much against the density and the switch from elderly housing. So I'll share
You'll
that
need
with
to,
you guys.
yeah, you need to bring that to the
Sure.
board.
And I have my letter as well.
Yeah, that'll need to come through us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that was just one thing, I don't feel like the traffic in any way, shape, or form has been considered. I haven't heard it being discussed once.
The applicant will be responding to all of
So-
your,
So thank you.
yeah, thank you. The applicant, would you like to address the concerns? Okay, great.
Yeah, in regards to traffic, I mean, obviously, if we were able to get relief from you guys, we would go through the entire planning board, and there'd be traffic studies and recommendations. And like we've said from the beginning, we're here to work with the staff, we're here to work with the town, and we're also here to listen to abutters and try to lessen the burden. We understand that they have a neighborhood that, that they are accustomed to how it is on a day-to-day basis, and this would definitely bring more traffic. But I will point out to the point that rezoning this, originally 20 Young Road was considered a C2 development, and we had shown a concept of that to the planning board in the beginning when we started this whole entire phase. And this layout had you can only imagine the amount of traffic that would be coming in to call it either a gas station, call it a form of a drive-through or a retail. This would have generated a lot more, a variety of people coming in on a constant throughout the day basis. Yeah, so you're going to see a little bit more traffic in the morning hours, in the later hours. Yes, 100%. There's no doubt about that. But it's one of those things that we're going to follow the procedures of the planning board, and anything that they recommend, we're going to perform our traffic studies and follow along with what their recommendations are.
Did you want to address the change from the 35 units to the 55 that she questioned?
35 to 55?
Said that when you went for rezoning, suggested you went.
The math that we had done based off of the there was do you want to address it?
I think my guess is what's being referred to as the calculation that you asked about earlier.
The applicant just wants clarification.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think the
your butter.
notion was, as Mr. Meisner indicated, when they looked at the ordinance in terms of calculating the density, what was permitted under their view of the ordinance was 35. The question had been asked, do you dispute what the staff has come up with, 20.6, based on this particular proposal? And the indication is maybe there is a difference of interpretation, but they've come up to 20.65 through their interpretation, and we're not going to fight about that. The only other thing that I would probably suggest in terms of the traffic is we're here for variances from the elderly housing restriction and for density. And if this was done as a permitted, where we weren't before you, my understanding, and Mr. Meisner can testify to this if you want, the density, the permitted density, where we wouldn't even have to go and see you, would be much closer to what is there. You'd be seeing the same, this was a mix of market rate and elderly housing. I believe he indicated 54. So if we're talking grand scheme, because we have this number of 20.65, you could have something that looks, same footprints, same sort of pattern of road, same amenities, same sort of thing, and you're talking 54 units. And that'd be permitted as a matter of right. So when we're I think we have to put this in perspective when we're speaking about traffic and the like. And you've already heard that if this had stayed the way it was in terms of commercial, you could even be talking about something with even a greater impact. Now, there is no doubt that this is something, when it goes to the planning board, yes, they will have to look at traffic and will undoubtedly request a traffic study. But where we're talking about density, permitted versus what we're here for, I think there's a slightly different notion in terms of what we're comparing here. I also heard a notion about, frankly, it's something that comes up very frequently, the sort of the notion that you can only give slight variances from the zoning ordinance. That concept was rejected back in the 70s. I think it was in the case of Carter versus Nashua. That's not in the statute, can't add it in. And I think for right now, those would be my couple comments, unless you have anything else to add. No?
okay, thank you. Is there anyone else opposed that would like to speak? Please approach the mic, and please give us your name and address.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Tricia Ferguson. I'm on 5 Copperfield Lane, so I am an abutter, Sarah's neighbor. A lot of what I had to say is what she already said. It had to do with the traffic. But a big part of what I had a problem with is in their wording. They say there will be no diminished value of our property, which I don't understand how they could come up with that, because right now, we have a big field behind us, beautiful trees. If the development's there, I'm looking back at houses now. I mean, it's irresponsible for them to say that instead of having woods and nice density, there's now houses. I think it's irresponsible to say that that's not going to diminish the value of our property. I just feel like, and other people in the neighborhood that we've talked to have said the same thing. Also, with the density, less zoning, more, opinion, I've lived in Londonderry for 51 years, my entire life. I've lived in Londonderry. I grew up, went to Londonderry schools, everything else. I love the fact that there's spacious lots, that there's room in between houses, that they're not right on top of one another. And that's part of the reason why I stayed. I stayed in Londonderry for that reason, because it's just got that feel to it, that town feel of not houses on top of one another. And I feel like if that is proposed, you're talking, quarter-acre lots or very small lots. That negates the whole kind of feel of what Londonderry has always been known for. So in my eyes, that's, that along with the diminished property, I just feel like it's, and I hate to say it, I don't want to be a jerk, but I feel like it's more greed than anything. Let's build more houses, let's make more money, great, but it's not going to do the feel, the town, the residents, the surrounding neighbors of that area any justice. So thank you.
Did you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I will. In regards to diminished value, I mean, we're building brand-new homes, and everything will be 2022 driven on trend. The sales of these homes and the price per square foot that these homes will only support a stronger resale value for the homes next door. If we were to bring together an appraisal report, I'm sure that would definitely be clarified. Plus, in regards to, I completely understand where she's coming from. I mean, people who lives in the town, it's a certain way. But just like anything else in this world, it's a certain way one day, but things change. Buyers, and especially first-time home buyers, when she bought her home versus when someone is buying their first home in Londonderry, it's a completely different want and need. The buyer of today, I'll make fun of myself. The man of today does not want to be doing rehabs and tons of yard work and all this thing. It's just not what our generation is. It's a different generation, like it or not. It's just the reality of the situation. The wants and needs of someone who's, call it maybe in their 50s, 60 years old, is a completely different versus what the wants and needs are of a first-time home buyer today. And that's our letters of support. These are not people, most of these people on those letters of support, I don't even know 4 or 5 of them. These were just, I kicked this around. There are people in there, obviously, that we know that we've built homes for. Yes, I reached out to them, showed them our proposal. There's also support from local businesses like title companies or lending companies. You're right, those are people that I know, but they're the ones who have firsthand knowledge of what is actually happening on a day-to-day basis in this market. And I cannot stress enough, it is not out of greed, it is out of a need. And and I understand what someone was saying in regards, it's not Londonderry's issue to fix the state's problem, but it needs to start somewhere. And I think that's our point of tonight, is it needs to start somewhere because
and
the change
one
needs
moment.
to happen.
And I will ask that we give each other respect. We're all allowed to speak, but we must really respect others when they were speaking, please. No. I apologize, sir. Thank you. Is there anyone else in opposition that would like to speak? Thank you.
Sorry. Hi, thank you. My name is Amber Iller. I'm a resident of 6 Copperfield Lane. I grew up in southern New Hampshire. I moved here back home to southern New Hampshire 3.5 years ago with the intention of a bigger home, more space, our kids to ride bikes on streets and cul-de-sacs and a neighborhood feel. we left a neighborhood like this in Massachusetts to come here and benefit from what we feel like we have on Copperfield Lane, and that's spacious lots and less traffic, and our kids can safely ride bikes around the neighborhood and such. So and similar to what Tricia and Sarah have spoken about, the diminished property, like we would lose the ability for our kids to ride bikes to the neighborhoods that they've been riding all along. Like we would be, it would lower our value. Like the whole purpose of why we moved here is exactly, and I'm in the target audience as well, that you guys are saying that it would be targeting to purchase. And I think the traffic is a major, major concern. Quick comment on the variance around when it went from commercial to residential. Would the commercial would have, I would assume, be on 102, not the entrance on Young Drive, because again, the cross farm development that was there does not have a traffic impact that this would, with the entrance being on Young Drive or on 102. I think everything else would be echoing what other people have already said. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do you want to address anything?
Nope.
You're all set?
So addressing.
I guess the only couple things, because they seem to be coming up. Number one, with regard to the essential argument with diminution of surrounding property value that's being made is essentially you have a developable piece of land that's being developed. It was undeveloped beforehand generally. Obviously, everybody in the state has a right to use their land, and we are here seeking permission to do something that would be very similar to what would be, in terms of density, permitted as a matter of right given the current zoning. There is also a suggestion that if this were commercial, that any entrance or any ingress and egress would necessarily be off Route 102. That's a state highway. Whether the New Hampshire DOT would allow that or not, or whether they would still insist that be off Young Road, I think is a question that would be up in the air. Don't know off the top of my head whether New Hampshire DOT would allow that or not. Again, I do think you need to look at most of the focus here has been on that one side. There is a much more dense development on the other side of this property, I believe.
The west.
Massetti property, Massetti, which I think the approximately 190 units.
There's a plan of it.
Being shown the recorded plan, it's obviously a much more dense and intense use of the area and a much larger thing. So I think that also goes into play here in terms of looking at values. The effort has been made to keep the development, to have that green space, to have some of those things, particularly to the sides. So I do think that those are considerations that go to the diminution of surrounding property values.
And we would also like to point out that, once again, we obviously hear the abutters. We are well prepared to work with them in providing a buffer, whether it be fencing with natural plantings or a mix of both. These are things that we are very open to so that it doesn't feel like such a backyard development. We can sympathize with their understanding of they appreciate the woods in the back and whatnot. It's so we're willing to work with them and hear them out and once again that would be something that we would work on through the planning process, and we've worked with a lot of landscaping design companies in regards to developments before, and these types of things will definitely be taken into consideration moving forward. And also, I would like to make a point that it was the staff's recommendation that I bring this entrance in off of 102. That is the reason that we had brought on Tony and Heidi Bennett's property and combined this, because it was a recommendation to have this coming in off of Young Road versus coming in off of 102 because of the nightmares that Cross Farm went through in regards to working with DOT and then also the safety of turning out onto a highway that goes from, I believe, 35 miles into more or less a 65, I think it's labeled 45 miles an hour, but if anyone's driven past the Turf Depot, by that point you're already going 55, 65 miles an hour. So bringing the entrance in off of Young Road was more of a safety precaution in taking traffic into consideration.
Is there anyone else in opposition that would like to speak? Please approach the mic, sir.
Tom Esty, lifelong resident. Oh, sorry about you, son. My concern, again, that I heard from other people was traffic. Because I checked into the police department, there's been 23 accidents in the last 5 years. So I know it's state road, but between his development, Cross Farm, the one up near from the flea market, the 55 and older up there, we got all these homes coming in, and I mean, I think we need a light out there. And in the past, there's been multiple deaths out there as well. And I was just curious on, so how many acres is that roughly that?
Yep, you'll need to direct your questions to the board, and then the applicant will
okay.
answer you. So your question is, how many acres?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the two parcels. I was just wondering why,
27 acres.
I was wondering why why you couldn't do less houses.
Okay, so is there any other questions?
And then the other thing was, with all these many houses that he wants to build is basically drainage.
Okay.
Drainage, and I've came here before on water topics, on drainage. You know, leach fields, you know, what's gonna happen over the next 30, 40 years? You get this many homes. I mean, because we're not on town, it's not town septic. And that's my concern on not just his, but Cross Farm and up near the flea market. I mean, that's a lot of water leaching in the next 40 years. I mean, it's basically gonna go into the water table. So, and then my thing, and the other thing is with the water drainage right across the street, there's a brook over there on, is it Young Road? Is that Bear Brook?
There is a creek. Yeah, there is like a brook. Yeah, it's like on the other side of Concord.
Yeah. So is that drainage in the water table gonna create more water going through that brook? Because that goes right down through my property.
Okay. So the applicant will answer and address all those concerns, and then if you still have questions, you'll have a chance to ask him again, if he didn't address your concerns. Do you have any other questions?
That was it.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
So can you address, there's actually three questions here.
Again, my name is Kurt Meisner. We're the site engineers, and I can answer a few of the questions that the gentleman had asked. The total site area is 26 and a half acres or so. That was one of his questions. The water table on the site averages about 30 inches, which is fairly good. The state of New Hampshire and southern New Hampshire in particular generally runs between 24 inches and 36 inches, so we fall right about in the middle of that. So the water table on the site is it's very average. It's just an average site. The drainage, and we've shown on the site plan a couple of stormwater facilities, one up towards Young Road, another one down towards Route 102, and so part of, should we be successful here, we go to the planning board. Part of the planning board approval would be a very intricate, involved drainage design. That drainage design would have to be reviewed by the town's engineer. It would have to be approved by him. And basically what that drainage design does in the end is it proves that there'll be no more off-site water than what is on the site right now. So we take the site as it exists today, we calculate how much water, how much flow runs off, and then we do our design. The design is intended to, and that's why we create the stormwater facilities, to hold a certain amount of water and let it go at a rate, at a timing that matches today's timing. So there'll be no increase in the rate of runoff that comes through once the plan is finally designed and approved. One other thing I wanted to mention was there's been some talk about the traffic that's on Young Road. And the difference between the entrance of our property here and Copperfield Road is about 500 feet. And people that come out of our site, and I can tell you you can't engineer human nature, but I can tell you human nature because I live it all the time. When you leave this site, you're turning right. You're gonna go out onto, Route 102. So it's not like traffic here is going left and going up Copperfield Road. I don't see how that could happen and bother, let's say, kids on a bike up on Copperfield. It's a dead-end road. There's nowhere to go once you go out there. So if these people are going up Copperfield Road, it's because they have friends and they have family and they're dropping someone off. There's no reason to drive up that way. So the traffic issue, we're going to come out of there, we come down, take a right onto Young Road. Again, like Aaron said, at the planning board level, there'll be traffic studies, there'll be a complete review of how the site itself would work. So those issues will be covered. On the septic system issues, we are so far under the requirements for the state of New Hampshire that these are simple septic systems to design. We have 2.5-foot water tables. We've laid out we've laid out separate leach fields for every 3 or 4 units. So each grouping of 3 or 4 units would have a septic tank and a leach field that's attributed to that. Those leach fields will be small, they'll be state-of-the-art. They fit in the site. They're shown on the site plan as you have them in your packet, and they're out behind each of the units. So septic design, and that was one of my biggest concerns because I am the septic designer of the site. And when we start putting units on, the first thing we say is we need to have space for these units. And this was a very easy site for us to lay units out on. Wetlands are all out of the way. They're nowhere near where we need to be. That's easy for us. And the soils that we're using for the leach fields is a good soil. They're generally around a 30-inch water table. So I think that answered the questions that the gentleman had.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that is opposed? If you have already spoken, I ask that who has not spoken come up first.
Ray Breslin, 3 Gary Drive, Londonderry. The most important thing in here is the 5 points of law. And I believe the first one says, is this in the best interest of the town? Most important, because here in the town of Londonderry, we have serious conditions with water and sewer. And at this site here, there is no municipal sewerage. The gentleman just spoke of that about septic. We understand that, okay? There is also no municipal water directly to it. That water would have to be piped in there from someplace. Do we know where that would be coming from?
Do you have any other questions?
Yes.
Because, okay.
Yes,
well,
I do.
Because he will address.
Do you want all the questions?
That way the applicant can answer you yeah, you have your turn to speak, and then he'll answer all the questions or concerns you have.
Okay, so this is of great concern because we in the town of Londonderry are working on this particular issue, the problem with water and sewer and contamination in the town of Londonderry. Very important. And when we're talking about a development here of 55 homes, I've heard the explanation that it's on a piece of property, and supposedly the soil is conducive. Usually when you go in and do a development, probably the first thing you do, you take all the topsoil off. Now, what's the level now? I would also like to know, what is the bedrock on this property? Because if in fact there is bedrock that is going to require blasting, for instance, to put in septic systems and so forth, that's also a problem. Because when you do blasting, wait a minute, we also got a gas line on this piece of property that we haven't really talked about much. I think we'd kind of like to know about that. I think they mentioned they had talked to somebody about that. I think we need to know exactly on the plan where that gas line is. I believe it would be on the left-hand side, looking at it here.
He did provide exactly where it is, because one of the drawings, it's just that the board is back there.
What, do you want to bring that out?
Well, we'll get into that, but, so, keep going, but we do have props here that we moved so we could see you.
Yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't see it, but anyway. I see it up there, though.
Okay.
All right, so, and when we're talking about wetlands, there is a couple of small wetlands on the property. But beyond there, I think we got a little small brook running out of there that runs across underneath 102 onto this gentleman's property over here. So there is, I mean, I consider a brook wetland, okay? Now, it may be a small brook, but if it's draining from that area, and we have potential for all this septic we're going to put in there, eventually it's going to leach out. We've already got a problem in the town of Londonderry. So, the 5 points of law, the first one is this in the best interest of the town of Londonderry? That might not be the correct wording of the first.
We're aware of the 5 points of
Oh,
law.
well, I'm sure you are. Do you want to tell me what they are? No, the first one.
So this is
It's not an
right now-
inquisition.
Right now, if you have concerns, you must express them according to the 5 points of law so that the applicant can answer you.
I understand, I understand.
Okay.
Thank you. So if I have any other questions after he answers,
Yep, thank you.
I can fill in a couple of those things, and I'll let Kurt
Okay.
take. We do have municipal water at the site.
Okay.
Also, we have clear, that was one of my continuance requests from the board on 11/17, was to kind of make it more clarified, or more clear where the gas line is. I can help you, Laura.
And municipal water is going to be provided by who? Do you know?
It's on my list. It's, Manchester. Yes, it's Harlan there.
That's great, that way they can see it.
Sorry, these things have taken a little bit of a beating, but this is the gas line that comes through right here. And in my correspondence right here, Jeff Brem of Meisner Brem had reached out to a Tim Hansen regarding the crossing existing Tennessee gas line with gas easements. Like I said earlier, Kinder Morgan is now the owner of the Tennessee gas line. This crossing will eventually be approved with completed plans, but only after full approvals of the project from the municipalities. This is typical for utilities. There is a detailed approval process to follow in Kinder Morgan's latest development handbook. I have an old one, and then this is just kind of Jeff talking, but the reality is we're going to have to follow all of their development procedure and follow their handbook. These are things that we are prepared for, and we've done this before with other developments. So Jeff and Kurt have a great relationship with these people. My partner, Rob, who's here, has also worked with them. So we understand the steps and the procedures that you need to take, you know, to ensure safety for everyone. And we go through that whole entire process.
And you stated that there's municipal water. Who's
Yes.
providing the municipal
Yes.
water? Do you know?
I think it's a total Londonderry.
Manchester or Pennachuck?
I thought it was Manchester. Offsite source. It's Manchester Water.
It'll be Manchester Water Works?
And then in regards to any sort of seepage into water tables and septic pollutions, I'll let Kurt
discuss that.
The septic.
State your name again for the
Yeah,
record.
Okay, sure.
Thank
Kurt-
you.
Kurt Meisner, Meisner Brem Corporation, we're the design engineers. The issue of the septic system, that's a layup for us. That's an easy one. We've done the calculations with the state of New Hampshire DES. They regulate the amount of wastewater that you can put onto a site. They regulate the locations that you can put it in. They have to give final approval on any septic system or leach field. Part of their consideration, and they have a design manual that goes through every possible consideration that you can come up with, and we need to meet all of those rules. So, again, I stated earlier, and it's important that you remember this, is that we're over 5,000 gallons per day less than what the state would allow us to put on that site. That's a large amount. That's really good. The leach fields themselves are small individual leach fields, so they're not anything that would be different than someone would have in a four-bedroom home. They're a little bit larger, but they're the same type of leach field. They're not required to be anything different than that. Elevation-wise, again, and I said the soils were good out here. We're typically in a 30-inch water table, which is really good for a septic design. And we'll need to prove to the state with every design that we do that we're not going to create any of these hazards. They're small, so there's no nitrate loading concerns. There's no off-site consideration that the leach fields are so big that they may interfere with something that's off-site. So these are small residential type leach fields. They're in good soils, and I'll say we're over-designed for the state because we're so far under their requirement for wastewater. So we meet that wastewater very, very easily.
He did ask concerns in regards to where the wetlands were.
Oh, certainly.
Will there be any leach fields where the wetlands are indicated?
No, there will not be.
Do you know approximately the closest leach field to that wetland? There's two, I believe,
Well,
wetland spaces.
By the state's requirement,
Yep,
we're required to be more than 75 feet away.
okay.
And what I'm looking at on my plan appears to be probably more like 150 or 200 feet away. So we exceed their minimum distances by quite a bit.
Okay.
And also additionally, important to remember that all of the data that we're showing you now is completed, official, complete surveyed. Our wetlands are stamped by a soil scientist. The survey is an absolute good survey. This is not anything that's done with tax maps, and we gave you good, solid data, so we are assured, and you're assured, that we can build this the way that we say that we can build this.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition?
Good evening, Deb Paul, 25-year resident of Londonderry. Madam Chair, I apologize for speaking in the back. I just was getting a little anxious to get up and speak. We've heard a lot of conversation tonight, and I understand the residents' difficulty in understanding this project. That property there was a nice natural buffer between them and the huge developments on the other side of them. I hear that this gentleman wants to work with the neighbors and the citizens that are concerned. The only thing he's willing to work on, though, I hear, is fencing and some landscaping. I hear no negotiation for less housing, which is what people are complaining about. They understand, they think the houses are beautiful, they think the development is wonderful, and their only concern is the density of this project, which is my concern as well. Just this Monday, I was at a Londonderry traffic safety meeting, and that intersection where the kindergarten is was brought up for discussion and concern. And as I told you before, at the budget meeting, the fire department came and spoke about the issue with traffic and the South Station fire station being a problem over there. And these things are very, very worrying to me for concerns. I heard him say that he could build, according to the state, 62 homes here. And he said he met them halfway by going to 55. I don't know, I'm not a mathematician, but I don't think that's halfway. But, you know, whatever. I think that maybe some negotiation, if you really want to embrace Londonderry, and if you're the stand-up guy that you keep telling us all you are with all these letters in your trade industry for you, who are obviously going to benefit from you coming in some fashion, so therefore they are for you, and that's fine, and nobody's saying that you don't do a good job. What we're saying is, why don't you meet the residents here halfway and talk about what this project could look like at 35 homes? You keep telling us over and over again, it's not about the money. So I would like to know what the difference is in cost financially between 55 houses to you and 35 houses to you. And if you're telling me that you can't make any money off of building 35 homes at this market, that you're telling me that people are basically selling their firstborn to get a house, I got to think that those prices are there. Even if you put these houses on the market for $50,000, the natural flow of the market is going to control the pricing. And yes, you were so kind and humble to give us 5 houses that would be at a lower rate, obviously a lower house quality, but and size. But the other point is, he keeps saying they're small. Do all of you have an idea of what 25,000 square feet is, or 22,000 square feet is?
100.
2,500, sorry, feet is? It's about the same size as the houses that were put on Gilchrist in Londonderry that are going for $675,000. So think about that. They're not really small houses. They're good-sized homes. They're adequate homes. They're not little. If he had said they were going to be 1,800, 1,400, that's a small house. That's a starter house. So please take into consideration the many people who gave you a petition that live there, who are going to be looking at this, who are affected by this. We have our zoning ordinances and our density ordinances in place for a reason. They're there to protect the citizens of this town. And that's what your job is, and it's not easy, and I do applaud you for doing it, because it is very difficult. But we do have these ordinances in place, and I know the lawyer keeps kind of pseudo-threatening with this one versus that one, and this one versus that one. But I think that we have every right to stick to our ordinances that have been fully vetted and have been put on the books for a reason, and that is to control Londonderry and to make it the town that it is today, to keep it as a beautiful town with a lot to offer. And I thank you for your time.
Would you like to address any of the concerns?
Sure. I'll start off with the reason for the amount of homes. A 22-acre parcel of land in an additional, I believe, almost 3-acre parcel of land in the town of Londonderry is not, I could do the same thing. I can complain about the cost of the land. The cost of the going prices for land in Londonderry are very high. It's because it's a desirable area. You guys have a great community. The school districts are on par with towns like Wyndham, Bedford, and Hollis. That creates value in people who own land, who have been sitting on this land for X amount of years. They're very well aware of that. Plus, it takes a small amount of homework to see what pieces of land have sold for around the area. So they're going to try to have comparable prices. Like I said earlier, I'm in the arithmetic business. We take the cost of the land, Then what we do is we figure out, all right, hey, I have my engineers put together a concept. We figure out what the road costs, the drainage, the infrastructure, all these things come out to a per lot cost. Then we have the big variable that I've tried to discuss many times, and that's that we cannot control how much that house is going to cost me today versus a year and a half from now. Could be better, could be a lot worse. We're not too sure. It's a roll of the dice that we're kind of going with. And in regards to the size of the homes, I'm picturing a home that has a family that has 2 kids. You know, we're developing 3-bedroom homes that has a master bedroom and 2 additional rooms for what I consider the average family that most people are having, which is 2 kids. Once again, the millennial is not having as many kids as the baby boomer, so it's a completely different time for what the housing needs actually are. So I actually believe that this is a very adequate plan that fits exactly what a first-time home buyer is looking for. As I stated earlier, the thoughts of buying a house and having to put an addition that you've overbid for because there's no inventory, and then had to put an additional $50,000, $60,000. Most people don't have that cash just lying around. This gives you an opportunity, and I'm not going to lie. Where those homes are priced on Guilford, we looked at that project as well. This is very comparable to that. My opinion is this location is actually better suited. It gives us the ability to kind of be next to the Massetti development that I believe has 190 homes. So we're not trying to max out anything even close to that. Or the parcel next door, yeah, there's a little bit of a difference, but it gives a surrounding difference of different residential styles. A traditional single-family home, an elderly development, and this would be something that, yes, is a little bit new and goes outside of the norms of the zoning ordinances, but just like anything else, times are changing, and that's all we're asking for you guys is to understand is we're looking for a little bit of relief in that. And I also, outside of these people's, I brought my business cards. I will give every one of these residents my time, email, phone call, meeting. Let's discuss things. But when it comes to the amount of units, there's a reason that we're stuck on this amount. It's because of where my costs are. It's not about greed. It's about a need in making that math work with where the cost of land and the cost of construction and development are. So,
Do we have any other opposition that hasn't spoken?
Phil Eberhard, 5 Copperfield Lane. I butt my property abuts the development that they're speaking of. I just want to address a few things that have been mentioned about traffic, how they say the path of least resistance. Most people well, if you go out if you go out at certain times and drive, we have 4 kids. I tell them all the time, don't ever go right, because it's a nightmare to try to get out in that traffic. You try to shoot your kid out when somebody's coming 55, sometimes 70 miles an hour around that corner, and then and I don't care what anyone says, you're not sending your kids out into that area. You're just not. You're telling them to risk their life. And then sometimes people are honking at you to go. It's terrible. So studying that traffic pattern, I can guarantee you, you're going to have multiple problems. I don't know where Londonderry wants to go with that, but there's going to be multiple problems with that. Another issue that I have is as far as there's power lines that are close to this property. So I haven't heard anything about the issues with the power lines and how close they plan on getting to the. And I don't know the laws to the power line. I've come from the contracting business myself, so I'm not trying to say. I believe that everyone should be out there trying to make a living. I just don't know where Londonderry wants to go. I mean, are you going to push people like us right out of Londonderry? Because I grew up in places, and I know other people have come from places where it's packed, and you don't want to go. You don't want to go live in a place where you're going to a place you just left because you want to come to a place where it's a town feel. I don't know if you guys want to become like Massachusetts or Nashua or Manchester. I don't know what Londonderry is trying to do. But I know for me personally, if you go in this route where you're pushing as much as you can into developments and just increasing development in Londonderry, you'll push people like me out. I'll be gone. And so that's all I want to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has not spoken in opposition that would like to speak?
Beth Morrison, 15 Rosini Road. I'm definitely opposed to the granting of this variance. I agree that this type of housing is needed in town, but I don't agree that 55 houses on these two parcels is the answer. I think that it's contrary. Like, the character of the neighborhood will be affected, and that the spirit of the ordinance won't be observed, as there is some potential, there could be potential water issues, and by definitely adding more traffic to this already congested area. But my main question is that for number 5, what is the hardship why you believe that 55 homes could be built on this lot versus 35? What is specific about these two parcels that would allow this?
Thank you.
If we were to follow just the standard R3 zoning and go with the 75%, 25%, the density would be exactly the same. We would be putting in 50 to 55 units. I didn't want to shove down more elderly housing because I don't believe that that's what the community needs. I don't believe that that's what the southern New Hampshire needs. What we need is more single-family housing. That is the reason that I continue to say that it is an inventory crisis, and it's for single-family homes. That is why I've directed it. To be honest with you, for us, as a developer, if we go the route of 75, 25%, and that's the road we go, we have no problem with that. We'll be able to market it. I'm trying to present something that makes sense and is what is actually needed. There's a reason your zoning has changed to remove elderly housing. There's a reason that every town in southern New Hampshire has followed suit in doing that. Because it got to a point where the planning boards were sick and tired of seeing another one of these, another one of these. This is a fresh concept. This is a 2022 concept that makes sense. That's all I can say is we're focusing on what is actually needed. The amount and density is going to be the same in this, either way.
Okay, thank you. Nick, yes.
I'd like to clarify something. I keep hearing that they have a right to build 55 and 65 houses. Londonderry is allowed to have more restrictive codes than the state, and Londonderry does. It's right in our ordinance, says it's intentionally more restrictive to protect groundwater quality and promote health and safety. And according to our calculations, they're only allowed 20.65 houses using our calculations.
I do want to ask you, Nick, in regards to, because the people that have been speaking tonight are concerned about the Young Road access, and as presented, that one outlet to the Young Road side. Would the planning board would they be scrutinizing just that one exit and how it impacts that whole region, which is already somewhat of a problem now?
I would imagine they'd have to do a full traffic survey.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that so that everybody here understands that, because that's not within the zoning board preview. We have no say in that. What we have is only to go by the 5 points of law, and then in accordance to what the applicant is asking. So the gas line, the traffic study, Young Road, whether it can or cannot take 55 or 35 homes with all that additional traffic, all of that is definitely in the planning board's preview.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Madam Chair, can I ask Nick a question?
Yes.
Nick, I just wanted to ask you a quick question. How does the elderly housing percentage, how does that impact the soil analysis that was done?
It would have had to clear the same hurdles for the soil densities. You're allowed to have more housing with the elderly denser, but you still have to meet the soil carrying capacities for our regulations.
Okay, thank you.
So what you're saying, Nick, is that that number is still 20.65
Yes.
with the 55?
Can I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay, number one, I'm gonna have to, with the elderly housing, it'd be limited to 2 bedrooms. If you look at their calculations, this is calculated on a 3-bedroom density. So no, the density would not be the 20.65. That's not correct, even under their interpretation of the zoning ordinance. Number two, I've heard this notion of being intentionally more restrictive. I'll grant the town can do that, but the only purpose and intent here that's cited in the memo is to protect groundwater quality and to promote public health and safety. I would note that that's exactly what the state does as well. I'm not sure why they did not find those sufficient. It's not in your ordinance as to why. But we are using a system that is designed to protect groundwater. You've heard testimony that you have to be so far from wetlands, you have to be so far from water sources. You have all of these limitations in place under the state system as well to protect groundwater and to promote public health and safety. So if we're talking about, then this would go to both the hardship, spirit of the ordinance, because spirit of the ordinance, public interest, both go to whether unduly conflicts with the basic purpose. If the representation here is, this is per staff memo, to protect groundwater and to promote public health and safety, if you have regulations that are designed to do the same thing, I haven't heard anything as to why anyone believes those are insufficient in that regard. And the mere fact that the town chose to do that, and there was a comment made by one of the members of the public, essentially, let's enforce the ordinance type argument. That argument has been repeatedly rejected as a basis to deny a variance. The case is Malachi Glen versus Town of Chichester, and forgive me, I know people don't always want to hear the cases, but a lot of these issues have been resolved before. And they have come before the courts before. So part of my job here is to say to you, look, that argument, I just want to enforce it for the sake of enforcing it, or I want to deny the variance for the very reason it's sought, i.e., you're looking for more density than what's allowed in our ordinance, is an illegal grounds to deny a variance. And again, if we're talking about fair and substantial relationship between the general purposes of the ordinance and their specific application to this property, or if you're talking whether it unduly conflicts with the basic purposes for the spirit of the ordinance, public interest, the manner in which they are calculating their density here for this lot is based on a system that serves those exact same purposes. So I don't think you can say it unduly conflicts because, again, I understand you can have a more restrictive provision, but there is, outside of saying that you're looking to do those things in and of itself, if that's your only purpose, the other one does the same purpose, serves the same purpose.
So let me just, and I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to put it really simple and in just my really basic language. If we were talking elderly housing, and we talked 2 bedrooms, elderly housing and 2-bedroom units, that type of resident is far different than a 3-bedroom couple with child. So to say that one is unlike the other is really true because it's 2 different types of households. The amount of utility that a family that requires 3 bedrooms, what they use and what they will expel, is different than an elderly housing, 2-bedroom couple or family, because there probably is no children. It's elderly housing or 55 and plus. So you're telling me that the regulations that we're giving you so that we can follow, that we have received from staff, with the 3-bedroom units, it is mathematically calculated according to what you are asking, which is you are asking for 55 residential 3-bedroom units. Mathematically, when we take our regulations, it comes to 20.65.
Yep.
So if we talking elderly housing with 2-bedroom units, it's far different.
But we could also be talking about multifamily dwellings, because those are allowed here as well.
But you just used that in your argument, so I just want to clarify, because reasonably, we're taking a known calculation, and it's a 3-bedroom unit, and there are 55 of them, and here is the calculation that it comes at. So I'm not going to refute the math. That is accurate. So to tell me that it is inaccurate, we are using accurate calculations in which to come up with how many allowable units in that density.
With all due respect, that was not what, the suggestion was, even if we were talking about elderly housing, the suggestion would be, you would be limited to 20.65. That's what the suggestion, that's what I heard. And I don't think that was correct.
Nick, would you like to respond?
Yeah, I was mistaken on that. There is a different loading calculation. For 3 bedrooms, it's 0.85. So if they were elderly housing, they're restricted to 2 bedrooms, so it would have been 0.65. There's not that much of a difference.
Which is in the memo, by the way.
Which
The calculation is not in there,
Yeah.
but this is
Right.
separate. I can do the math.
But if I can just continue in response to your question.
Go ahead.
We focus a lot on the numbers, but you still have testimony here. At the end of the day, the question is whether you can do this and so that it doesn't impact the groundwater, so it doesn't, doesn't impact the public health or safety. You have the testimony of the engineer. You're going to get systems on here that are far less, that have far less of an impact than what is allowed by state regulation, even with a density of 55. Even with that density, if you're looking at your purposes, which is what we're talking about both for hardship, fair and substantial relationship, public interest, spirit of the ordinance. At the end of the day, if I go that way, am I going to adversely impact the groundwater, the public health, or the public safety? For what this ordinance focuses on. You're basically saying that you're focusing on, purpose and intent, soils-based density calculations, protect groundwater quality, and et cetera. That's sort of the focus here.
So let me ask you one more time, the special conditions of this property for the hardship piece of
Okay.
this 5 criteria.
Yeah. Special conditions of this property, you have a property, you have a 2-lot zone here. These 2 lots are the only ones in the zone right here. You're surrounded, as we started to indicate earlier, you have residential up there, you have a far more, I apologize, I'm looking the other way. On one side, you have, as was indicated, more of a traditional single-family neighborhood. Again, we're proposing single-family here. You also have a much more dense development on the other side. So you have something where you have this lot that has different densities, one to each side. You're trying to come up with something that is in the middle of those, so you're not so far from this one on this side or from that one on that side. So you do have that aspect going for you. You also have, as I indicated earlier, you do have the Harrington argument. And we have discussed, there was a question that was made, why doesn't 35 work here? You can't get a reasonable return on your investment at 35.
We don't have those calculations, correct?
No, we do not. I did not see that in my packet.
But I think that was the testimony that, given the costs, the construction costs, the acquisition costs, all of those things, Mr. Orso can correct me if I am misquoting what he said earlier. That's just not going to work here. And the notion would be, if you can't do it this way, they're trying to get, again, they're trying to do something here. And, we heard a lot about the local public interest. I'm not sure with respect to housing that that's the appropriate focus. Public welfare, in terms of housing, focuses more on a regional basis, on a local basis. But at the end of the day, trying to do something in terms of reasonableness that,
Well, the special conditions of the property.
yeah, I've been trying to indicate that. You can't, again, given the property's features, if you go to do something that is less dense, and that's what we're really focusing on, if you want to go down to the 20.65, that just can't be developed. He's indicated, and I'll have him repeat it again, that's just not going to allow any return on investment because it's just not going to be, it's going to be cost prohibitive to develop given the construction costs, given the acquisition costs. And if you want specific numbers, excuse me, you think you can give them specific numbers if you need to?
It'll take me a couple minutes. Roughly these, if I had to guess off the top of my, not off the top of my head, but a pretty safe number, I would figure that I'll be into each one of these units with road and land costs for anywhere around $150,000 to $175,000. So and that's at 55, that's at 50 units, what happens with the affordable units that everyone wants to kind of, fluff off as my little incentive to everyone to get them on board. That helps us with our road costs and our infrastructure costs. We lose about $30,000 to $40,000 on each one of those plans, but it does help us break down that. So when you take that $150,000 to $175,000 that you're into each one of these lots for, and then add on, the cost of construction right now is right around $200 a square foot. You can do the math at where I kind of come out on each one of those units. We're not looking to get rich off of this. We're putting a substantial amount of investment up to have a moderate return. I'll be honest with you, we try to shoot to be anywhere from $75,000 to about $90,000. But there's a lot of things that kind of come into this. We're running a business. We have offices to run. We have employees to hire. There's a lot that goes into this. So being frank with you, that's roughly where I'm at. So yeah, you cut it down. I can't be into each one of these units. These aren't even lots. It would be all part of common land. So the whole allure is to try to kind of, I keep saying this and everyone will laugh, but try to keep costs down. That's the whole idea of this. The more you take more units from me, even if all of a sudden I'll start, if you've got only 25, 30 units, that goes against the whole entire concept. Now we're right back to where we are right now, jacking prices. No change in what's going on in the current market. No new steps forward. Old way of thinking.
Does anyone else on the board have a question?
Yes,
Brandon?
I'm dying over here.
Oh, okay.
My partner Rob would like to say something on the density.
I'm not going to ever speak.
I didn't know.
You can speak before me.
Yeah, you can.
Hi, my name is Rob Meissner. I'm partners with Aaron at Cedar Crest Development. Speaking to the density of doing this development with, say, 35 units. With more traditional development, you see driving down Copperfield Lane, it's that traditional style development. The homes are bigger. So if we were to do 30 units, we would lay it out in a similar fashion to what you see here, but every building envelope would be slightly bigger. Every home would be bigger. The infrastructure costs to bring all the road, all the infrastructure to serve 35 homes would be similar. It's the same length of road, same length of, and by being denser here, we've limited the physical size of the home that we can build. So we can't build 3,300 square feet homes the way we've laid this out. The talk of affordable housing, we can't, we're a for-profit business. We're trying to make money, but we have the way that the real estate market, the prices of the homes are going to be dictated roughly by the square footage of the home. You're not going to be able to sell a 2,400 square foot home, new construction, anywhere close to a 3,300 square foot home, new construction, because the price per square foot of a new home, buyers are going to compare what you can get on a price per square foot basis. There's variables to finishes and the age of the home that affects that, but the reality is a smaller home is going to be worth less. So our increased density here limits the sizes that the home could be. That limits how much we can sell it for. And to speak on why we can't do 30, it's because we still need to bring in all this infrastructure, lay it out. The impact of 30 homes on this property to the immediate abutters, Copperfield Road, is the same because the developed cleared area is going to be roughly the same whether it's 50 or 30. We're still going to build a road in, clear that area, the homes get bigger, so the cut area that used to be forest, it's the same physical area, so the same physical impact to Copperfield in terms of what they see from their homes. The negative impact to the town of Londonderry as a whole, which of doing 30 units, is the inventory is less, the prices, the housing crisis is not helped. People aren't able to afford a nice home in Londonderry. Families aren't able to afford a nice home in Londonderry. So my feeling is that if we have 30 homes develop this one property, the impact of Copperfield's the same. They don't have the woods anymore, but the property has a right to be developed. So their impact is roughly the same, 30 to 50 from a visual standpoint. Obviously, we have to get into the traffic. We haven't done a traffic study, so we don't know those answers yet. But the impact to Londonderry as a whole, having these smaller homes, is there's more housing stock for people in Londonderry who want a nice home to grow their family in. So, yet theoretically, lower density is possible, but I think that the impact of Copperfield would be essentially the same. The impact of the town as a whole would be negative with a lower density development here.
Suzanne, do you have some questions for the
I
applicant?
didn't have questions. I was just sort of addressing the concern as to why Londonderry's restrictions are tighter than DES. So Londonderry's little dark secret is our water system and our dump sites are extensive. I've lived here for 40 years. It started with Tinkham, and we have a real issue with water. So people may have mentioned water. That is why. We have a real problem here. Our cancer rates are higher than other towns. The water is an issue. And I wasn't involved in writing that restrictive, and I don't know what the history on it was, but I suspect that that is exactly why they are more restrictive than what the state requires. And to go back to what, again, the hardship requirement from the case that we keep reciting is with the use of variance, it requires a greater showing of hardship than an area variance because the potential impact on the overall zoning scheme is what we're looking at. So again, hardship is the impact. And I think, we see an impact here. Never mind what not to discount anything you're saying, but you are all a direct abutter, so you obviously are going to be impacted. But generally, for the entire town, you're putting more people in there. That is going to stress the schools, the police, and the fire department, which no one has mentioned. So I guess that's my question. Obviously, there's impact if you have 55 houses versus 20 houses. And that zoning was just done recently, so I feel like there is certainly an intent as to why they changed that zoning, and to make sure that that property is less populated, that particular area, by making it elderly housing. I hate to use that term myself. But that's where we're at. So those are the question, I guess, is, how do you say that it doesn't have an impact on the town when we're just putting way more people in there?
The R3 zone allows for multifamily homes, so outside of just the 75-25%, that's only one format of development purposes. There's a lot of other avenues that you can go in the R3 development. We looked at that one as more or less it would make sense to get away from elderly housing because of them removing it from the zoning ordinance. When I met with Colleen in the beginning to more or less pitch this project, I was made aware, and then this was the way that I was kind of steered by the town.
And can I just respond on Harrington? I don't disagree with your reading of what Harrington says
Quoting you right
in
now.
terms between the area and the use variance. However, if you look at how the law has progressed, you originally had the Gray Rock's very restrictive standard for hardship. That got changed in 2001 with the Simplex decision. After that, I believe it's Boccia versus the City of Portsmouth, the Supreme Court started to look at a difference between area and use variances. However, the state legislature in 2011 essentially overruled that aspect of the case. There is now there are two definitions for hardship. There's what they call the Simplex definition and the old Gray Rocks definition, which is the one you have no other reasonable use of the land unless you get a variance. But what they did do is they eliminated and made the distinctions that had previously existed between use variances and area variances no longer the law of the state. So I don't think that aspect of the case is good law anymore.
Okay.
As I said, simply because of the way the legislature reacted to it in 2011.
Is anyone else on the board? Brandon?
Have you done a calculation of what your return on investment would be if you had the elderly housing?
It'd be about the same.
The same as what?
Same as this.
The same as this project?
Yeah, no difference.
I got something.
Yes, Dave.
So, couple of things I want to point out is that you say that this is what Londonderry wants, but I don't know where you come up with this is what Londonderry wants. And the other thing is, these houses are, what'd you say, 2020?
Yeah, they started, the smaller of the three-bedroom plans, I believe, starts at 2,100 square feet, and I think the largest plan we have is like 24, 25 in square foot.
I live in a 2,100 square foot house.
Yep.
And it's a pretty large house.
Yep.
It's a three-bedroom house, pretty large, there's plenty of room, so it's not small houses.
Yep.
So I just wanted to point that out.
But it suits a family.
Yep.
A growing family, and that's what we're trying to market our products towards.
Do you have any other?
And I don't think it's really what Londonderry wants. I don't want to get that. I'm not saying that this is what Londonderry. I think that the reality is this is what the state needs. And this is a parcel in a town that is desirable, and we foresee that this would be a well-received by buyers, and it would bring, I know that you brought, Suzanne, I know you brought up something about the town. I've actually looked into the school district, and the school district in student enrollment is on a slight decline. So why would we not want one of the best school districts in the town to be supporting our kids?
The issue is the impact, the amount of impact. If you've got elderly housing there versus having families, obviously there is going to be an impact on the
Oh,
school.
yeah, yeah.
I don't want to forget, I have letters in opposition as well.
Okay.
That I need to read.
Okay, would you, let me just ask one more question.
How many do you have there?
A number.
A number.
Take a break.
On your plan, the board that's directly in front of you, that everyone can see, the development from lot number 1 going all the way to lot 50, because there's 50 depicted in my packet here, and I assume it's the same there. I have 1 through 50, not 55. The open space of this whole 26 and a half acres, your open space that is surrounding this whole entire development, approximately how much of that open space so that the public can understand what you're not developing and what you're leaving as open space?
It's 14 acres.
So 14 acres
More than
surrounds, okay, the open space that's been depicted in this.
Correct.
Okay. And the nearest, your best estimate, your nearest home on the Young Road side to the nearest home, I assume, would be lot 50 to the Young Road side. That open space is approximately how much? So would they, going into your
The current- I believe
development?
The current home sits right here.
Yep,
Heidi, and so from here to the property line,
yep,
is that what you're
yep,
looking at?
approximate. So that there's an understanding.
To lot 50. 175 to 200 feet.
Okay. And then on the backside of the lot, its furthest point, let's see, would be northwest. To those homes on that side, what do we have approximately?
It's a Copperfield. Those houses, I don't know where they are. Aside from here.
Because that space is what? Just,
Probably looking at about 150 feet.
okay. And that's all wooded back there?
Correct.
And the open space that you are not developing, what does that consist of? It's trees?
This is all wooded, it's 14, you got 14 acres, and 11 acres of it is upland. And then
Okay.
the other 3 acres would be wetlands, so that being over, down in this region, you'll have some of the wetland area, and then obviously the wetland that's represented up here. Other than that, that's all upland and wooded area.
Okay.
That abuts the Massetti Cross Farm development.
And the walking trails that you're depicting, that's something that you're putting in for the people that live in the development, correct?
Correct.
Because the rest of it is surrounded by woods.
Correct.
Okay.
Once again, like I said to you earlier, I went through the master plan thoroughly, and that's where I tried to kind of incorporate a lot of these different things, walking trails. I tried to include trees and orchards that support the town's integrity or the town's character. Community gardens. We were going to try to do some beehive. There was a pretty good grand plan for this that mimicked what we read in the master plan of this town.
Okay. And then in that depiction, there's a park. What kind of park is it?
That'll be a patioed park, pavers style. We wanted to have a gazebo, some benches in this area. This would be, obviously, like I said, we were shooting to do a single family, so we figured young kids, and I figured gatherings. I know that especially during COVID and everything else, I noticed I live in a very tight neighborhood, very similar to this, and it's kind of where my idea came from, this thing, and how close we've all come together. And we always talk about how awesome it would be if you had like an area where we could all gather, fire pits, bocce courts, dog park, community gardens. These were types of things that we felt that could bring gatherings together.
And then I see here you also proposed a fenced-in playground for the children.
That's right.
And then across from that, you would cross the road and you have a dog park?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay.
No, across the walkway.
Across the walkway, okay.
And then also there's a bocce court represented, there's a fire pit. We were gonna do some sort of like a pergola shaded area, and even in the park area, we were gonna do a gazebo, some benches, just as another area to do what people do.
And then when you come in from the Young Road side, lot 1, 2, and 3, if you go back towards the Nashua Road, that says, is that a community garden?
That's correct.
Okay. So is that, that's open space for the residents of this community to
Yeah, we were
garden?
gonna try to set up like, depending on the unit count, set up like individual boxes for whether it be each unit or however the HOA decided to divide those out.
And then where it says community garden, and then it shows the orchards, so you're keeping a lot of trees or
No,
putting.
these are all being planted.
These are being
not
planted.
there. This is what was part of our plan to plant apple trees, peach trees, plum trees, things that are native to the town.
Okay. Okay. Would you like to read the letters of opposition? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Laura, if people spoke tonight, do I need to read their letters as well? Oh.
So if somebody see it?
Okay,
you have the letter?
I think so. Yes, so Ms. Ferguson Everhard, I have your letter. Would you like me to read it?
That's fine.
Okay.
I've said everything I need to say.
And I have a second one, I believe, but I'll get to that when I get to it. This is an email from Learning Tree. Hi, Laura. I hope all is well. We wanted to reach out as neighbors to the Learning Tree have brought to our attention the proposal for 20 Young Road in Londonderry, case number 1117-2021-3. We understand we are not a rebutter according to the documents, but we did want to take a moment to voice our concerns regarding the added housing proposals for this already busy area. We are thankful to be located in Londonderry on both Young Road and Crosby Lane and have a successful child care center at those locations. We are concerned that the added traffic will pose safety issues on several levels. The traffic already is a challenge getting out on 102 both in the morning and in the evening. Young Road is often used as a cut-through if traffic is backing up. We also have about 200 Londonderry children and their families using that entrance on a regular basis and would be concerned for their safety. Living in town as well, we know how important it is to have a thriving community, but also the amount of homes proposed on small lots seems excessive and the traffic along 102 is already a challenge. When we first opened in 2017, we did complete a traffic study, and at that time it was borderline a concern. There are also several bus stops along the Young Road area. We thank you for taking the time to hear our concern. Thank you, Nicole Pooler, Caitlin McKenzie, Michelle Brutus, the London Tree Early Education Center, LLC. Good afternoon. In efforts to argue against the Young Road development, residents from Copperfield, Young, Crosby, and Nashua Road have signed a unified response. I want to send this along ahead of time as we wanted it added and read at the meeting. One of us will be present with the original document for better visibility and additional signatures. Thank you for all your help. Apologies for the poor quality. My scanner was not working. Kind regards, Marie Liz Moore. And I believe that we have an updated version of the attachment, which I will read. This is from, I believe was handed in by, was it Ms. Clark? Yes. And Ms. Clark, I have a letter from you as well. Would you like me to read it, or you?
No, I don't think you need to read.
Okay, thank you. But I will read the attachment, which was attached to that email, and also the original was handed in tonight. Date 12/15/21, regarding Young Road development, 20 and 22 Young Road. We are opposed to the approval of the two requested variances for the Young Road development. Section 4.2.2.2.b, use to waive the requirement for elderly housing. Section 4.2.2.3.b, permitted density to allow 55 single-family residences. The request to build 58% more homes than what is allotted for this size lot is too great. This is not a small request and has egregious consequences. This will exacerbate the already strained traffic issues on Young Road / Route 102 intersections. Accidents frequently happen already at both intersections. The old Tupelo building turned daycare has increased the traffic significantly at peak drop-off pickup times. Many surrounding residents are completely unaware that the only functional in and out of the new development will be from Young Road. Once any hear of this, they all agree this will be a traffic nightmare, especially for so many homes. Concerns around the buffer / privacy between Copperfield Lane properties and the new development. Moving from elderly to market rate housing will increase the number of drivers in the new neighborhood. Moving from elderly to market rate housing will likely increase noise. If the new home's values will be so significantly reduced / affordable and the lot size is extremely small, similar to the city like Manchester, what type of buyers is that going to attract? Are city small lot size is the future of Londonderry. Concerns that blasting is so close to our homes will cause damage to our older homes and pools. Concerns around the displacement of wetlands wildlife. There is no community benefit to approving these variances. It appears the developer wants to squeeze as many houses as possible into this plot regardless of community impact. And then signed by a number of residents from Copperfield Lane, Crosby Lane, Young Road. In total, it's signed by, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we also have an email from Heather Voss. Hi, Laura. I didn't have much time to prepare a formal detailed letter opposing request. but enough to share my concerns. Thank you and kindly. Case number 11-17-2021-4. My name is Heather Voss, property owner of 18 Young Road since July 1999. We strongly oppose granting the applicant Cedar Crest development request as we feel our property will be negatively impacted. We are concerned that continuous blasting, other than ongoing peace interference, may result in property damage. We have wetland area which may be altered from the runoff, causing obstruction with drainage issues, which will affect our yard, driveway, and foundation. We feel our property value would be diminished and so accordingly proving no substantial justice. That's all the opposition letter.
Laura, can I have some clarification too? So we're hearing case number 11-17-2021-3. Then there's case 11-17-2021-4, which is the 20 Young Road. It is 55 residential units totaled with 20 and 22 together, not 55 and 55.
Correct, and I would make a suggestion to the board, if the board's inclined to grant it, they may want to consider a condition of merging the lots so the variances are cleaner, or at least condition the variances upon each other if the board is so inclined to grant it.
That's why I
You don't
needed,
want-
I
right.
wanted clarification here
Right.
because of how, how we have to do this. I don't want any confusion as to how this is
Exactly.
gonna roll out.
Especially
Okay.
one of the lots is only 3 acres, you don't want to say that you're putting 55.
That's why I wanted some clarification because as, what we've discovered tonight, it's 26 and a half acres, but that is the combination of the Young Road number 20 and 22. That's a combined total. Okay, all right.
And just so everybody's clear, the
Just-
bigger lot, which is one right here, that's 21 acres, so that's 22 Young Road.
Yep.
Which is behind you, and then the second lot, and this is GIS, so the engineers may have a different acreage, but roughly, the 20 Young Road is 2.91.
Yeah, okay, so, all right, very good. So I just wanted that clarification for everybody out there as well. Okay, thank you. All right, so we've read all the letters. Anyone else in opposition that has not spoken that needs to speak? And is there anyone else that has one last opportunity before we bring it back to the board? Please keep it to anything that has not been said. And you'll need to state your name again.
Sarah Clark, 7 Copperfield Lane. I wanted to address specifically the assumption that coming out of the development that everyone is naturally going to go right. I can assure you, if you look at that intersection right there, where the old, where Etsy's corner store is, right there, because it's at an angle, okay, it's not a direct 90-degree intersection. That's the part that makes it more dangerous. And I can tell you that the residents are going to find out really quick. The only time you use that entrance to go out to 102 is if you're turning right to go to Hudson. If you're going to any other town service, you are going to find taking a left out of that intersection is virtually impossible. And so you're going to go to the other intersection, therefore impacting, yes, no, your residents are not going to directly go onto Copperfield Lane. That's not my concern. But that's not just our neighborhood. When we go for a walk with our kids, we go to Apple Blossom, we go to Ball, we go to Crosby, and we are walking on Young Road with our children into that other neighborhood that's an extension of our neighborhood. So those people, if they're going to Londonderry, anywhere for town services, I guarantee you are going to find it's too dangerous to go out on the intersection that's next to their development, and they are going to go down by the Learning Tree and go out to 102 that way, therefore impacting the rest of the neighborhoods that are there and impacting us by causing more traffic on Young Road. Thank you.
Does the board have any other questions of our applicant? Okay. The applicant, do you have anything else to add?
Okay, Ray Breslin, I think you mentioned that you don't want to bring anything else up, but or something that's already been spoken to? I mean, I don't think
Well, 'cause
the
we can-
questions that
we
I
can-
asked have even been answered, but, and the most important question is the health and safety, the first 5 points of law. That has not been addressed. How is that not going to have a negative effect on that first point of law? Nobody's answered that, okay?
We have testimony that we have both for and against for the, and that's what we're doing tonight, is hashing it out. So,
Okay, so they don't
So-
have to answer that question.
no, they did.
They did?
They did. All right, so they'll answer it one more time for you. Anything else?
Pardon?
Was there any other question? Because
No,
he'll
that's-
answer all the
that's
questions.
the most important one.
Okay. Would you like to respond to the safety and health concerns that the resident has?
Safety and health, I think as the board indicated, let's deal with the traffic issue, which has been discussed beforehand. If this assuming this gets passed, it will go to the planning board, which is going to require a traffic study. They'll also look at whether off-site improvements are required as well. So those issues are issues that the planning board, and I'm sure your staff can confirm that, those are the sorts of issues that the planning board would look at if this gets a planning board review. In terms of what we're discussing here, in terms of public health, safety, and welfare with regard to the density, our focus has been, I think what has been focused upon here for health, safety, and welfare, if you allow this density, there is more than sufficient capacity, and we've heard discussions about concerns, maybe you have more restrictive provisions due to water concerns. You've heard testimony about what the water is actually like on this particular piece of property. It's also going to be municipal water in terms of what's going to be serving the property, but in terms of septic and its impact on groundwater, et cetera, you've heard that this is going to be far under what the state would believe that this particular property, given all the soils, which were determined through, you have a plan showing all the test pits that were done, that this lot will more than suffice for what they're proposing here in terms of density. So those are the basic public health and safety issues I've heard. The other ones that were addressed last time or addressed in the packet, I'm not going to reread some of the stuff in the packet. I think those are the principal two that we've sort of been discussing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we continue, we're going to take a 10-minute break.
Good idea.
Okay? And we'll be back in 10 minutes.
Still a lively group for 9:55.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you did it right this time. You brought a nice warm.
Shut itself off after 9 o'clock.
It probably does shut off. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to
Yes, ma'am.
address?
Chairman, your break came at a very good point in time. We were discussing during the break that we would like to have an opportunity to speak to the neighbors to see if we can come up with a plan that generally works. I think we've heard enough tonight to know that there are some strong objections based on the current plan. And rather than simply going through the motions at this point in time, my client would like to have an opportunity, given everything that has been said and all of the testimony, to see if they can sit down and talk to those who do object and come up with a plan that works for both sides. Can't promise that everyone will come to an agreement, but we'd like an opportunity to try.
So would you like a continuance?
Yes, please.
All right. Do I have a motion to grant the continuance to February 16th? For continuance for both cases?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
For
Please.
case number 1117-2021-3 and 1117-2021-4. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have a continuance to February 16th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone,
Thank
tonight.
you.
Thank you.
Can I have all that paperwork?
Yep,
I
all
just
that
gave you
paperwork back.
Let
Okay.
me clip it so.
Yeah, we took clips off. I gotta make sure. Three, and three. Okay.
So these are three?
Those are all for
3. And here's 4.
Thank you.
No, thank you. I feel short.
Okay, it is now 10 o'clock.
Oh, keep going.
All right, it is now 10 o'clock. We still have 3 more cases. I need a consensus from the board if we can continue. Your thoughts? Are we able to continue? Do we need to?
No, we can definitely.
Yeah, let's continue.
Continue, I know where she came
I know, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, let's go.
Case number 12-15-2021-2, request for a variance from LZO 7.6.D.3.B to allow a total of 108 square feet of wall signage where only 50 square feet are allowed. 66 Nashua Road, map 7, lot 40-4, zone C1, the Matarazzo Family Trust owner and Midwest Convenience Sunoco applicant. There is prior zoning here. The most recent is 10/20/21-1, request for 3 variances for LZO 7.8.B.1 to alter an existing non-conforming sign without losing its pre-existing status. 2, LZO 7.6.D.3.B.II to allow 3 wall signs where only 2 are permitted. And 3, LZO 7.6.B.7.6.D.B.I to allow 75.78 square feet of signage. Wall signs where only 50 square feet are allowed. 1 was granted, 2 and 3 were withdrawn without prejudice.
Hello,
And who will be presenting?
my name is Carolyn Parker. I'm here, oh, I forgot who I'm working for. Midwest Convenience Store, sorry. I was here a few months ago.
I recognize you.
Yes. Basically, the way your bylaws are written, for signs, wall signs, you have to count the whole size of the wall that you put the sign on, not just the size of the sign. So I was here a couple months ago to get the word Sunoco put on the front of the canopy. Now I want to put the diamond sign on the side of the canopy, which that side of the canopy comes up to 90 square feet, where the sign is actually 25.54 square feet. So therefore, I need a variance. I was approved for the Sunoco for the same reasons. If you want, I can read the,
So you'll need to do the 5 points of law for us for this one.
okay. Granted, the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because the sign is part of Sunoco's new image and the lot is allowed to have 2 wall signs on the property since it is a corner lot. We only need the variance because the way the bylaws are written, you take the whole fascia width and height and count that as the square footage. The second wall sign will in fact assist the public to know the brand of the gas being sold due to the location on the right-hand side of the overhead canopy. And as we know, we withdrew the wall sign, so there is not going to be any wall sign on the store. It's only on the freestanding sign. The spirit of the ordinance would be observed because the current use of gas station and convenience store is an allowed use in the commercial 1 zone. The variance for the second wall sign is due to the way the bylaws are written. When signs are incorporated into canopies or awning, the entire panel containing the sign is counted as the sign face. This means my proposed 25.51 square foot sign becomes a 91 square foot sign because of the size of the fascia in which it's being put on. So the 2 signs that we are putting on the canopy are under the 50 allowed square footage. Justice is done. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because the 2 signs that will be installed on the overhead canopy are under the 50 square feet if you just count the actual size and not the overall size of the canopy fascia or background. The value of the there will be no decrease in the value of the surrounding properties since the sign we propose for the overhead canopy is a normal sign installed at a gas station. We will not have any adverse impact on the surrounding properties, especially since we are in a commercial zone. No fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purpose of the ordinance provisions and the specific application of that provision to the property. The proposed use is a reasonable one because the subject convenience store opened in 1980, 42 years ago.
The Board of Adjustment has on several occasions over the intervening years reviewed Speedway Sunoco's plans to upgrade its facility and has granted special permits and variances for other site improvements. The subject variance does not conflict with the general public purpose of the zoning ordinance and continues to permit a reasonable use, a gas station and convenience store. Granting of the requested variance poses no adverse impact to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. I think I'm done.
Does the board have any questions of the applicant? Okay. Is there anyone for the applicant that would like to speak? Let the record show there is no one. Is there anyone opposed that would like to speak? Let the record show there is no opposition. Bring it back to the board for any other questions of the applicant?
For me.
Nothing for me. Okay. And at this time, we have no other, so we're going to close it. We'll go into deliberation. Do we have anything we have to hash out before we deliberate?
I don't think so.
I'm good? You're good? All right, let's go through the 5 points of law.
Granting the variance would or would not be contrary to the public interest because.
Would not.
Would not?
It's not going to alter the essential character of the neighborhood.
I agree.
Spirit of the ordinance would or would not be observed because.
Would.
Would.
Because.
Same reason.
I agree.
The granting of the variance would or would not do substantial justice because.
Would.
Would.
Because.
No loss to the public.
I agree.
For the following reasons, the values of the surrounding properties would or would not be diminished.
Would not.
Would not.
Would not.
That area is leading into a mall.
It's commercial zone, yeah.
Yeah.
Owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because, one, there is or is not a fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision to the property because.
There is not. It's on a corner lot. It's on a main road. I think we last time we discussed it was up back off the road a little bit.
Yeah, because it's a non-conforming lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. If memory serves me right.
The proposed use is or is not a reasonable one.
Is.
Signs are reasonable.
Signs are very reasonable.
Do we want any restrictions?
I have none.
Nope.
Nope. We're good. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 1215, 2021-2 to grant the request for a variance from LZO 7.6.d.3.b to allow a total of 108 square feet of wall signage where only 50 square feet are allowed. 66 Nashville Road, map 7, lot 40-4, zone C1, the Matarazzo Family Trust owner and Midwest Convenience Sunoco applicant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
I'll get home in time for my husband to go to work.
Safe travels.
He's a baker. Yeah, opposing me, I would have knocked you over.
Good luck. Keep safe drive.
Thank you.
Sorry, you guys went really fast.
We're sharp crew.
I can read the end of the case. In case number 1215, 2021-2, the request for a variance from LZO 7.6.d.3.b to allow a total of 108 square feet of wall signage where only 50 square feet are allowed, the variance was granted.
You?
Thank you.
Case number 12-15-2021-8, a request for a variance from LZO 4.2.1.3.B.1 to allow a lot with 100.58 feet of frontage where 150 feet are required, 8 Wiley Hill Road, map 5, lot 28, zoned AR1, Belize Real Estate Holding LLC, owner and applicant.
I will need to recuse myself.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, sir. So I have to notify you that we are, because we have one recuse, we are not at a full 5-member. You have to get at least 3 positive votes for you in order to pass, or you can wait till February 16th when we have a full board. It is at your discretion.
I think I'd like to proceed, Madam Chair.
Okay? You may proceed.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Doug McGuire, and I am with the DeBay Group here representing the owner and applicant. As stated, we are here tonight to request a variance to allow for a single-family home lot with less frontage than allowed at 100.58, where 150 feet is allowed. Before I get into the criteria, if I may, I'd like to just quickly give out an updated exhibit, just because I had met with some of the abutters and we had changed the layout of the home a little bit, if that's all right.
Okay, yes, please do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you'll note this is a very similar plan to what was originally submitted as part of the application. The abutter that I spoke with was the direct abutter to, I don't have a north arrow here. So it would be to the south. And their concern was that if you see in our original design, the existing home, or the proposed home rather, was closer to the property line in that area. In talking with them, what we were able to do is adjust the home to be more centrally located on the proposed lot with a side load garage to take advantage of the shape of the lot. And also you can see that the backyard is basically directly lined up with the back. And it increased the separation between the existing home and our proposed home to about 93 feet. So with that being said, I'll start in with the criteria. The variance won't be contrary to the public interest. The proposed single-family lot is permitted in the AR1 zoning district and would be in kind with all the abutting properties in the area. And all the other applicable requirements regarding building setback, lot size, et cetera, would be met as part of this proposal. Also, in addition, in some of my discussions with the abutters, there was some concern brought up regarding site distance. There's the intersection of Wiley Hill Road and High Range Road. From hearing from them and talking with them at the last meeting that we ultimately continued, they had brought up some concerns that there is some site distance issues in that area. We have the benefit in this location of being at the outside edge of the curve, so we have some of the best site distance at this proposed location. But for the record, I would like to also hand out, this was given out to staff as well, but this is a site distance profile.
Look at you.
Just to...
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as I'm sure you're aware, the town of Londonderry has some specific criteria when it comes to site distance, particularly with residential driveways. They require your regulations require 2 different profiles. One that is, I guess, viewing from an oncoming car to 6 inches off the edge of the road. I guess maybe mimicking a ball that might be rolling out into the road or something to that effect. And then a more standard profile where you're set back from the drive in your car, looking in both directions. So what I can tell you is that based on the survey that we did out there and the putting together of this profile, we do have acceptable site distance at this location. So I don't see that as a potential issue. And I don't discount what the abutters had said about site distance. I think if you were on the inside of that curve, it would be maybe a slightly different story, but where we're proposing, I don't see any issue with that. So I just wanted to add that into my discussion about contrary to public interest, because safety obviously is important in that category. Moving on to the spirit of the ordinance, the intent of the frontage requirement was to ensure that a lot is appropriate to situate a single-family home on site. And this property, as you can see, is uniquely shaped, where we have frontage that is reduced by the abutting property. There's a section that is jutted in of the property to the north, where they're utilizing some frontage of that lot, of their lot to, I guess, support their lot, but in a bit of an unconventional manner. So working with that, you can see that once we get into the lot, we have more than sufficient frontage and a very standardized, in my opinion, standardized lot proposed. The lot is actually about 200 feet wide once you get into the buildable area of the lot. And so this widened area will allow for the lot to situate the single-family home and would exceed that required frontage of 150 feet, because my understanding of this requirement is that obviously you're intending to have 150 feet of frontage so that you can have a more standard-shaped lot. You don't want to have less than that, because now you're creating either a pie-shaped lot or something to that effect. And once you get into the buildable portion of the lot, that really isn't an issue. Substantial justice, the third criteria. The area of frontage and the associated land is of no benefit to the existing home on the property and would easily accommodate a new single-family home in the zoning district, which permits as such and would conform to all the other zoning criteria. Surrounding property value are not diminished. The construction of a new single-family home in this location would have no adverse effect on surrounding property values, which are all the same type of use, and it would just be new construction. And the last criteria, the hardship, no fair and substantial relationship exists between the general public purposes of the ordinance and the provision and the specific application to the property. The purpose of the frontage requirement, as I mentioned, is to ensure the appropriate lot size and width to accommodate the proposed use. This property is unique where the abutting property utilizes frontage which is not located in front of their existing home. The proposed lot has substantial width to accommodate the siting of a single-family home aligned with the property frontage. Due to the existing lot geometry, the reduced frontage requested will have no impact on the lot width and lot size. The proposed use is reasonable because it would be allowing for a single-family home to be situated on a lot which meets all the remaining zoning criteria in a zone which permits the use surrounded by other existing single-family homes, and so therefore we believe the use is reasonable. And with that, I'll turn it back to the board and happy to answer any questions regarding the application.
Anybody have any?
I have a question. I'm sorry, I don't understand. This property is unique where the abutting property utilizes frontage which is not located in the front of the existing home. Can you walk me through that?
Sure. If you look at the exhibit, the property to the north, and I actually might, excuse me?
There's no direction on here.
Up, the top. This existing
Okay.
lot here. So what you can see is in them obtaining their 150 feet of frontage, they utilized an area that jogs into our subject property to obtain that frontage. And so their driveway comes off of that. They don't utilize any of that area because it's our property is directly behind it. And then they carry their house lot behind there, and their house is situated in the back. So because of that unique piece that's taken out, it creates a unique shape for our lot. But our lot is actually more conventionally shaped in its proposed configuration than the lot next door. And I think it probably makes sense to mention this as well, just as a little bit of history of how this came about, because I questioned it myself. My surveyor went back all the way in the records of these abutting properties, and what he found is that this chunk of land was actually an individual lot that was owned by this owner of this larger lot. And he traced those all the way back to the early 1920s. And so this lot remained in common ownership with the owner of this lot, which was not subdivided at the time, from the 20s all the way into 1974, where the owner of the two parcels, the chunk here and this, consolidated those two properties and created this subdivision in 1974. So I think it's important to note that this was not a chunk that was originally involved in this property. It was truly a burden of the other property. So I hope that helped. Does that answer your question?
Yep, it does, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Not for me.
I'm good. Is there anyone in favor of the applicant that would like to speak? Let the record show there is no one. Is there anyone in opposition? Please come. And please state your name.
Hi, I'm Lynn DiCicco, D-I, capital C-I, C-C-O, and it's spelled incorrectly on the abutters list. And I live at 93 High Range Road, which is right adjacent to this property. I do have some.
Okay.
I did this is the original one I signed.
Thank you.
I know the name things.
Thank you.
Did you need one also? Okay, I'm not much of a public speaker, but anyway, so my husband and I have lived in the house almost a little over 5 years. So I'm going to go through the 5 points. The variance will be contrary to public interest because, so I will say, we have talked to the surveyors that were out surveying last week. We did not know that the site of line survey results would be completed because the guy told me they would not be completed by today. So I do have a section in here talking about that because that was a big concern of ours. We did talk with Gary. Is it Gary?
Me?
Yeah,
Doug.
I'm sorry, the engineer. We spoke with him at the last meeting, or prior to that, actually on the phone, and he came up with the second proposal, placement of the house, because we had some concerns about that. So the proposed single-family lot is not in kind to all abutting properties. All of the houses on the other properties are spread out and have a natural buffer with trees and bushes for privacy. The lot and the placement of the house, which is less than 100 feet from our master bedroom, goes against the town's goal of maintaining Londonderry rural and agricultural heritage. According to the engineer's drawing proposal, the picture of the property is at least 10 years old, the one that you have, because it doesn't show a picture of our deck on the back. It also shows a picture of 8 tall pine trees, which did give us a private buffer, but those were removed a year ago due to tree rot. So now there is nothing between our property line and 8 Wileys. No separation proposed house, presuming there will be a need to remove the trees on the property line. The variance will be contrary to public interest because we think the spirit of the ordinance is to maintain the uniqueness of the town with houses spaced out, not overcrowding them on top of each other. On the proposed house placement, the property widens to 200 feet only for a short distance and does not continue all the way, the width all the way back to the property line. Okay, number 3, substantial justice is not done by granting the variance because when the property was recently purchased, the zoning laws were in place. Therefore, the developer knew that the property shouldn't be built upon due to the frontage variance in Londonderry. The lot is a non-conforming property and was purchased that way. We have a concern about the public safety by granting this variance. So he did show you, so if you would look at the map 5 block that shows the abutters map that you have in the proposal, you can see that where the 100 feet variance is, that is at the high rise of the way the road goes. And right there, there is a sign from the road sign that says 25 miles an hour with the suggested, showing that there's a curve there. And that particular, it's right in the middle of that where the proposed driveway is. So the surveyor, okay, the frontage variance is requested on a section of High Range where the rise coming around the curve suggests that the sign limit is 25 miles per hour as proposed on that frontage line. So, okay. The values of surrounding properties will be diminished because putting a house on this lot will diminish the value of at least 5 other abutting property owners. And all the privacy that we have will be gone, thereby substantially lowering the value and saleability of the property. When we purchased the property, we were told that the lot in question was a non-conforming property and would not be built upon. So when we bought the house, we went to town hall. They gave us a map that showed where the property lines were, and we were told that lot wouldn't be built on because there was not enough frontage road. So we presumed it was going to be left natural and wooded, which it is right now. Literal enforcement of the provisions would result in unnecessary hardship. The property, as it provides neighbors with open space, would be, okay, not overcoming. There are other land uses. There's lots of conservation, a wide range of, different kinds of animals, agricultural. There's several houses across the street were built in the 1800s, which adds to the agricultural heritage. We have some really big safety concerns on that particular section, not to mention that even with the house being moved 30 feet, reversing the driveway, there's going to be we have no privacy left. They're going to take the trees down to build the house, but there's, we're not going to have the beautiful woods that we had. So that's a really big concern we have, that there's no, anything else, honey? Okay. I guess that's kind of our, so it is, you can see where on that picture, see the row of trees right next to our house. Our house is the corner house, the ranch style. Those trees are no longer there. So there is no privacy. That lot where the proposed house is literally matches up perfectly where our house is. So it's like less than 100 feet from our house. Not to mention that the driveway, like I said, the driveway is coming out on a section. We've had a lot of bad accidents. We've had one accident right there at our property line, between our property line and that property line. We've had a lot of bad accidents on the corner there. To me, it seems like it's going to be a blind driveway. because there is the properties next to it. So I guess that's our thing.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have any comment as far as?
Sure,
The
maybe
opposition?
just a couple quick points. I would, the purpose of providing the aerial graphic that we presented here was to show that, in our opinion, we don't feel that this is out of character with the neighborhood. If you look at the existing lots on Wiley Hill Road, and the houses that are built on Wiley Hill Road, and even the houses that are built in a fairly newer development on Carousel Court, up to the north, we do feel that this is in line with that level of density. We did try to work with the abutters in modifying, how the house would be laid out to provide some more natural buffer. Obviously, I see that as a benefit to this potential new homeowner as well as the existing homeowner, so I think that's a good idea. As far as site distance, as I provided for the record, we do feel that we have the site distance. This, as I'm sure you know, but the abutters may not know, I think it's worth noting that if this were to be approved tonight, the variance would grant the ability for this to be a lot, but we would still have to go through a subdivision process with the planning board, and we would have to put plans together, and so site distance would be reviewed at that level. If there was some questions or concerns about buffering or something that we would need to do, I think that could be handled at the planning board level as well, as part of the subdivision application. So some of those current concerns could be addressed if the board were inclined to look favorably on the application.
So right now, this is not an approved lot.
Correct.
Because you are here for the variance, and then if you should be granted that tonight, then you would go for the subdivision.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. What's preventing you from pushing back the house? Because I see quite a bit.
Pushing back the house?
Yep.
We can. I was just trying to kind of match the distance so that, we weren't, some people don't want to be in the other person's backyard and that type of mindset, so I was just kind of trying to match the same line so that backyards matched up, but we could look at pushing it back some if that helped. I don't see that.
Because how big will that lot be upon the subdivision?
We're showing it right now at 80,000 square feet, which is 1.8 acres, obviously larger than your requirements.
Okay. Okay, very good.
I do have a question for him.
Okay, will you give it to the board, and then he'll answer you.
I'm sorry. All right. I do have a question. If he pushes it back, then that, I guess, my husband said that gives us less privacy to the rest of our yard. Anyways, I do have another question is, when they surveyed the property, and we drove around the whole piece of property, all 16 acres, it was surveyed, and there are markers everywhere except on our property line, which has been a question for the last year. But the surveyors have been out there. There are no markers on our property line. So we don't know specifically on the, where they are, and we're kind of wondering why, if they surveyed the whole property, why they didn't put markers on our property line?
So, I think they would only mark your property.
Well, it doesn't mark, yeah, it would be their property, but there should be markers between our property and their property.
I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I think I can respond to that.
Go ahead.
So typically with our process, our surveyors go out, and when they do their initial survey, the first piece they do is recon the entire property. So any existing markers that are in place anywhere on the property, they'll mark up, flag, spray paint, it'll look like a bomb went off there. If these markers are not in place, and it looks like based on the plans and is that those points, those tie points along that property, those are not currently marked, so there wouldn't be anything located. That isn't to say that if and when, at the subdivision process, at the planning board, all of those markers would have to be set as part of the subdivision. That's a requirement the town has. So it was nothing malicious. We weren't trying to like inadvertently, leave something off. It's just those markers are not in place, whereas other markers along the other extents of the property are in place, so they were located and colored up, and they weren't set, they were just located.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, it answered it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I just ask Nick
Yes.
on his view of this site distance plan?
Pardon?
Your opinion on this site distance plan? That's not my.
I had a chance, we just got it literally
When we got
today,
it,
so typically site plans are reviewed by John Trotter for Department of Public Works and Engineering, our engineering division now. And so I did take a quick look at it and kind of just try to bounce a couple of things off of him, just in anticipation of a question like this for tonight. So the stuff that kind of just popped out, very cursory review, because I'm not an engineer, so I'm going to preface it like that I know that there's a guardrail that should be shown on the site distance plan, and that's not there. The guardrail that should be shown, that should be in profile A, that he would need to looking north, and that wasn't done. The driveway profile was not provided. We believe there's a utility pole that is probably in the site distance, and that wasn't shown. The contour lines were not labeled. There's a 2 to 3 foot depression, which is 5 inches off the edge of pavement, that we were a little unclear about, and the plan's not stamped. So we have all those concerns about the.
That was your quick review?
Wow.
So, jeez. That's kind of,
Okay.
And, when I did get, John, if this came to be an issue, his preference was not, if the board was inclined to grant it, not to grant it conditioned upon a site distance profile being done. He would like to see that done beforehand and shown to you, and give ample time for him to review before the board would grant it, if the board has a concern about the site distance profile. So if you do have a concern about the site distance profile, obviously what we have now, it needs some tweaking. So if the board has that concern, John's thought was give the applicant time to, address some of these concerns, get it properly done, stamp for the driveway profile, everything that needed to be done. Do that in anticipation, for the deadline for it to get to him, like February 10th, so he can look at it and then say to you folks on the 16th, hey, look, it's good, it's not good, I still have these concerns, if the board is even going down that path.
Would you be, yes?
Could I respond to that?
Oh, absolutely.
So my take is this, that review, although that very detailed, that is very typical of Mr. Trotter. I've been working with for years, and I'm used to seeing those type of comments. I would just, my position on this would be that this site distance profile, I don't believe this would necessarily even be a prerequisite to the merits of the criteria of the variance. I put it in place because I know that there was concerns brought up by abutters about the visibility, and, they were saying, not particularly those abutters, that was actually a different abutter that had come, but they were saying, you can't see anything. So I was concerned, and I wanted to make that review. I feel very confident, even hearing the comments that Mr. Trotter has, that we still have no issue from a site distance perspective on there. And this would still be, any subdivision application is contingent on this site distance plan and profile that would be vetted out by those review, by Mr. Trotter and his staff as part of the submission. Your subdivision regulations require a pretty robust, even for a single lot subdivision, it requires site distance, drainage calculations, details with regards to that, in addition to the subdivision plans. So I would see the specifics that Mr. Trotter brought up falling to the planning board process. I certainly think there's enough here to show we're not even remotely close to not having site distance. You can see that we actually have in the profile B, which is your standard site distance profile that you're sitting in your car and you're looking both directions. We even have that 18 inches of all-season site distance separation. A lot of times that's the piece that gets you because of the assumption that there would be snowbanks and everything. We even clear that in that area. So I feel very comfortable with the profile. It wasn't intended to be something like as far as stamping and all that. I took that as all items that would be handled at the planning board level. This was just to provide a general level of comfort to this board if it was a concern on the safety aspect.
So,
Anybody able to read that?
so I,
'Cause I'm not.
I would,
I've been looking at it and I don't know what.
so I would want clarification on that.
Yeah, I agree that I understand your argument I'm with you, but I think we need like a preliminary, somebody to say, yeah, this is good, besides you, I'm sorry. Again, we don't need all these things to get there, but I think we need somebody to review it and say, yes, from a general site view, we're safe. I mean, we're all very familiar with that area because it is a dangerous area. To your credit, most people are slowing down because you're gonna get to that stop sign, or you're just accelerating. So I think that it's not as bad as it appears. I mean, I think there are worse spots on High Range Road than that one.
Can I just add from a staff point of view, as if I was speaking as if I was John Trotter, he would want those things addressed before he would give a nod to whether that's an appropriate site distance.
Really?
Or not.
Okay.
So,
I don't know if there's a stamp on it over there.
yeah, so would you be willing to get what we need and come back February 16th, have it reviewed by Mr. Chartier, say the 10th, 11th, so that we have plenty of time to get it to us? Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Do I have a motion to continue?
They have some other people that want to talk.
We're going to continue it. It's going to be continued. To continue case number 1215-2021-8.
I'd like to make a motion to continue case number 1215-2021-8.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So we continue till February 16th with that request for that information. There won't be another, you won't be notified again. Come back February 16th.
February what?
16th. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura, would you mind sending me those preliminary comments, just so I can update the plan? Thank you.
Ta-da. Oh, wait a minute. Ta-da.
Do we vote that it got continued or not?
No, you don't have to. It's a continuance.
We don't do a vote sheet to
No.
continue.
No, we don't do a vote sheet,
No.
but we did vote again.
We don't do a vote sheet to continue.
It was so funny, you were sitting back there and I go, wow, that
do we not
woman
have to?
really looks like Irina.
Okay.
I forgot you would refuse.
That woman looks familiar. Oh,
No,
that's
not
a good-
familiar, I said it looks like Irina.
Yeah, familiar. Our last case.
Come on down.
Case number 119-2022-1, a request for a special exception for a portable storage unit pursuant to LZO 5.15.1, 114 Litchfield Road, map 11, lot 26-1-2, zoned AR1, Gary and Amy Mellinger, owners and applicants.
Hi, I'm Gary Mellinger, 114 Litchfield Road, and I filled out this application. I'm looking to get a portable storage unit put in place in my driveway to hold items that I'm actually taking from my parents' house from Kingston, Mass. My mother passed away in February. We're in the process of selling the house in Kingston, Mass, and there's some items in there that we want to keep for another house that we're going to be hopefully getting in the next year.
Okay, so you have a little bit different of a process for your portable storage structure.
Yep.
Do we still do opposition and for the public?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, is there anyone for the applicant that would like to speak? Let the record show there is no one. And anyone in opposition? There is no one left in the house. So, yes, Nick.
I just want to make sure that the board understands that you have the leeway to put conditions on it. You can ask him the time that he wants to keep it, the duration of time, and you can set conditions where he may have to screen it and other conditions. You do have the leeway to do that.
Yeah, this new portable storage
Conditions. yeah.
conditions is new
Yes.
to us, so,
Yep.
okay, thank you. And if, we may have questions as we go. So we're just going to go through the questionnaire, correct, Laura?
Yes.
All right. And we may ask you questions as we go
Yep.
through the questionnaire.
Oh, I'm just reading.
Yep.
Is the use detrimental to the health or safety of residents?
No.
Answer is no. Will the use create undue traffic congestion or a traffic safety hazard in the vicinity of the proposed development?
No.
Will the use be incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood?
I don't believe so.
A yes or no?
No.
Will the use be detrimental to property values in the vicinity of the proposed development with consideration given to the location or scale of buildings, structures, parking areas, or other access ways?
No.
Will a nuisance be created by such use by way of emission of odors, smoke, gas, dust, noise, heat, glare, vibration, or other pollutants, or the unsightly outdoor storage of equipment, vehicles, or other materials?
No.
Will the use create a hazard to the public or adjacent property on account of potential fire, explosion, or release of toxic materials?
No.
Will the use result in the degradation of existing surface and groundwater equality standards or have adverse effects on the natural function of wetlands on the site, which would result in the loss of significant habitat or flood control protection?
No.
Will there be more than one portable storage structure on the property?
No.
Will the portable structure be larger than 10 feet wide, 20 feet long, and 10 feet in height?
No.
We did not ask what the size was, too.
It shows it.
Okay. Will the portable structure be located to the side or rear of the principal structure on the
Yes.
property? Will the portable structure be set back a minimum of 15 feet from any side or rear lot lines and 40 feet from any property line?
Yes.
Will the portable structure be set back a minimum of 5 feet from the nearest wall or building?
No.
Yes, so that's a problem. Will the portable structure be placed on a paved, concrete, or other appropriate impervious surface, or to be placed on blocks?
Both driveway and on blocks.
If applicable, will adequate and appropriate facilities be provided for the intended use?
Yes.
And if applicable, will all necessary state and federal permits be obtained?
Yes.
So you have given us a picture of where the house is, and then you have given us, in our packet,
Yep.
where you'd like to place it. So I see that there's room, but you're tucking it up closer to the house.
Correct. I'd like to have it reside next to the house. In front of, we have a doorway on the backside there where the electrical panel is, right there. We plan on placing the backside. I was like thinking of having the front side there, but I can put the backside there and have the doors facing the street. That will gain another foot in towards the back of the house, away from the street, so it will be 11 feet will be to the side of the house, and then it will be 9 feet will be coming further along the retaining wall. I tried to do 3D. I didn't do a good job, sorry.
That's
Isn't
okay.
bad.
So it's going to be, so you want to put it closer to the retaining wall?
Correct.
Isn't it right next to the building as well?
Yeah, it
Yes.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It has to be 5 feet off the building minimum.
Right.
by
So you
regulation.
have plenty of,
Has to be off the, okay.
yeah, because you have plenty of room to,
I do. I was just planning on having it there because I usually, this time of year, I snow blow out that way. And if I put the storage container off to the other side of the driveway, I'm blowing it into the container, and then I have to snow blow it again out back and forth. So that's why I plan on putting it there.
Is it even with the house so that it's not in front of the house?
Nope, we have a door back there.
So
At the end of the driveway, there's,
is it even with the house?
it's goes 11 feet, by sitting on the side of the house, it goes 11 feet back on the side of the house, and then 9 feet is exposed toward, next to the retaining wall.
Okay, so I still don't know the answer. Does everyone else get the answer, and I'm the only one not getting the answer? Okay.
No, and I don't know.
So if the house is here, is
Can I,
going
can
to-
I kind of do an example, like say if this is the side of the house? Say if this side of the house and this
Yeah.
is the retaining wall?
Yep,
We have the door here.
Yep.
I'm planning on having the back of the storage container here, and this goes 11 feet. The retaining wall's here,
Yep.
and it goes 9 feet out this way.
So it's not extending past the front of the house?
yes, it is.
9 feet.
9 feet.
So we can't do that either.
Nick, for the containers, can we give temporary placement and then with condition that it's to be moved in the spring because we have a snow issue? No.
You would have to ask for a variance
Yeah.
to the term of the special exception.
Okay, okay.
Wow.
That's,
That's a double
that's
whammy.
fine. I mean, I could have it sit, that driveway is 20 feet wide, so basically if you kind of visualize where I have it now, moving it to the other side. We had it there when we had the central air put in from the airport people.
Could you move it so that the front is flush with the front of your house?
No, then it would go, basically it'd be touching the pool.
So one of the requirements is it can't be in the front of your house, which is why I kept asking it, does it exceed the front of your house?
Did that change
Yeah,
recently? Okay.
there's a lot of new changes.
No, I was just gonna say, because when where I have it now is on the other side, was when they did the airport stuff. That was a while ago, so.
Yeah.
Could you get a smaller container that was flush with the front of your house?
I looked at possibly getting a 10-foot container, and the storage units, I guess, are in high demand now, and they said that they're looking at months out from now. Right now, we currently have stuff in storage at, was it Life Storage? Located where the mobile is, at the Triangle, temporarily for now, and the basement's filled with the other stuff.
How long do you plan on having the storage unit there?
I would say we would have it, the latest would be to the end of this year. We would probably be looking at moving into a new house in October, November timeframe.
So with this new form, Laura, we need an exception to the exception.
You need a
Right,
variance.
he would need a variance.
Variance.
So it sounds like he would need one.
Two
for
issues.
Side of the rear, and then if he was trying to keep it close to the.
To the
5 feet,
building.
Yeah, to the building. That would be 2 variances.
So let me explain to you what's gonna happen. So you don't meet the criteria for what you've applied for. You can withdraw that, what you've done tonight, for tonight, go back and apply for the 2 variances that you need to put it where you need to, the size that you want. Because here, you don't fit the criteria, and it's either it fits or it doesn't.
Okay.
And you can't come back. But if you withdraw your application, then you can reapply so that it fits what you're trying to look for.
Okay. In that criteria, the criteria, I understand beside the house, the 5 feet, but I didn't see anything in here in regards to the front of the house.
It says whether it's on the side or the front.
That's within our regulation.
Okay.
The portable structure, will the portable structure be located to the side or rear of the principal structure of the property? You said yes. But it's going to protrude into the front of the, principal structure. So that's question number 10.
Okay.
So 10 and 12 are your issues.
Laura, can there be a variance that has a sunset time period? Or is it going to be that it goes with the land like most of our?
He's doing the variance for the terms of the special exception. He's
Yep.
granted the variance, but then you put a sunset time for the special exception.
Okay, thank you. All right, wow, you complicated our last case here.
I'm sorry. Thought it'd be easy.
Yeah.
Again, going back to question 10, it says, like, will it be located to the side and rear of the principal structure? And so I have it to the side, but I don't have it to the
You don't have it to the rear.
rear.
You have it coming to the front.
Okay, I didn't recognize it front because it's not, I looked at it as parallel. Okay.
So that's why we,
Parallel, if it didn't protrude, but if it protrudes, then it's
yeah, as
front.
soon as it protrudes
Yep.
to the front. That's why Brandon had asked if maybe you got a 10-footer.
Okay. So what do I need to do?
So if you would like to withdraw this
Okay.
application so that you can get the correct relief paperwork, so that you can come back to us with the correct relief, and then we can look
Okay.
at it.
Okay, so
Would you like to withdraw this application and come back February 16th?
because it's not going to get approved, correct?
Well,
That's right.
that's the way that it goes right now, because it's not really what you need.
Yep.
So I'm just letting you know that once you only get one, what we call one bite of the apple. So
Gotcha.
you can only
I
come
would like
to
to
us.
withdraw.
You would like to withdraw?
Before we do that,
Oh.
I mean, if he wanted to comply, like if you wanted to push it back and pull it away from the house.
He can't, because it's going to hit the
It's
pool.
going to be up against the pool.
Is your pool behind the plane of your house?
It's,
Is it on your driveway?
you have an end of our driveway, and there's probably about 6 feet of the gravel, and then you're basically hitting the pool, the back of the pool.
Okay, but your house has got to be at least 24 feet long, wide, from front to back.
Front to back is,
24, 26?
I want to say it's 24.
But he's got to move it over. Don't forget, so I don't know what impact.
Right,
When he moves
so
it over,
If you were to
still
put it,
have to be,
Moves it over.
But the
But then he's gonna
driveway
hit the
doesn't
pool.
go all the way to the end of the,
but you could set that on blocks. It doesn't have to be on the driveway.
right, but if you look at that, where the house is, the foundation, if we kind of cut that right across, it goes right up against the, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, if you put it on the other side of the driveway, so you get your 5 feet off the house, and push it back to the plane of the front of your house is 24 feet, and the container's only 20. So if you were to push it over, you could make it work.
The 24.
The 20-footer.
Yeah.
On the other side.
And you also need to be aware that the two variances that you are seeking, those are more of an uphill battle than a special exception. There's the whole 5 points that you've heard since you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now you have 2, and then you're coming for that, so
And-
there's definitely more of an uphill battle to try, if you could make it conform to the requirements, that's easy, because now you've got the requirements, and the board shall grant you the special exception. They can
Okay.
attach conditions. The variance, as you can see, there's a lot that goes into those 5 points, and you're seeking 2, and there could be safety concerns about being so close to the building, and a whole bunch, other host of issues that could come your way.
Okay.
But that, you're absolutely able to do that, but I just wanted to make sure that you understand.
Okay, so if I move it to the other side of the driveway and push it back so it's flush with the front of
The
the
front of the
house,
house, yep.
Yes,
then I'm good.
Then you're good.
yes,
Then I'm good.
Yeah.
yes.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. So we're going to change your responses
Oh,
to the
yes.
different questions, which
So,
is,
will the portable structure be located to the side or rear of the principal structure on the property?
No.
No, you mean yes.
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 I thought I said yes.
No, you said no.
But then.
I
you told me you
lied
couldn't
then.
meet it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, and then the other one Will the portable structure be set a minimum of 5 feet from the nearest wall of a building?
Yes.
Okay. We want conditions. We had started to talk about how long he was gonna have it there.
So, you said you're probably the end of this year?
Yes.
Okay. If we gave you till December 31st, 2022, will that give you enough time?
I believe so.
Okay.
If
Laura, if he does not have enough time, how does that work?
Back in and files another request for a special.
Okay.
Another one of these?
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay, but it ought to be in the right spot.
And you'll be a pro then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say,
Yeah, totally a pro.
okay.
Okay. All right, so, the condition, good till December 31st, 2022.
We say granted until, or this expires.
Yeah, our wording
It expires.
expires, yeah.
We also have to note where he's located it, right? We have to note that he's located it on the other side.
And if you wanted to add in that the location of the storage unit would be as presented?
Yes,
Go back
yeah,
to the minutes
yeah.
and refer to where that location will be.
So I'm kind of thinking time frame here, so if it's December 31st, you usually meet on what day of what?
We're the third Wednesday of every month.
Okay, that includes December?
Oh, yeah.
So by we're talking Veterans Day, if I'm not seeing the housing thing shake up, then I
Give me a call.
reapply again?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Yep.
So approval expires on December 31st, 2022. Location of the storage unit to be as presented.
Perfect. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion in case number 119-2022-1 to grant the request for a special exception for a portable storage unit pursuant to LZO 5.1, 5.1, 114, Litchfield Road, map 11, lot 26-1-2, zoned AR1, Gary and Amy Mellinger, owners and applicants, with the conditions that the approval expires on December 31st, 2022, and that the storage unit is placed as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening, sir.
Thank you too. And Brendan, were you the lead speaker or presenters in classes and stuff like that? Because you went through all those letters and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Just got to keep plowing through them, but thank you, I appreciate that.
I gotta ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
I live right down the road from you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
If I sign this one, it says you or me.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
I go by your place all the time. I see you out there cutting and spacking wood. I never see any of it disappear. Don't you
Do
burn
we
it?
have any
Burn it.
additional
Would
business?
That's what keeps the main house?
Yeah.
Like that much? I only go to maybe a cord a year.
Laura, I do have one question on this form. It says, so it says motion, colon, and then there's a line. Is that who made the motion and who seconded?
Probably is, yeah.
So it was.
Before we get into the election of officers, I just wanted to say for anybody who watches that, Chair Neil Dunn, as you all know, has decided not to seek reappointment. He's been a long-serving member on the board, and he's a wealth of knowledge, and he gave such great guidance and insight and wisdom to the board. So I just wanted to personally thank him on behalf of the town for his years of service and the amazing job that he has done.
I agree.
I agree.
So, do we go through the process?
Thank you.
If somebody wanted to make a nomination, so for the chair, if somebody wanted to make a motion to nominate Jackie as chair, then that motion would be seconded, and then we would vote, and then the same for vice chair, and then for clerk.
So, I have more commitment at work now. So, the amount of time and effort to be chair, which Neil, I can't say enough. He put so much into it that I know I can't give that kind of time. And this seat deserves all of that, and more, just like Neil did. So, I will, I can't accept the chair position because I just can't, I don't feel I could do it justice. So, Suzanne?
My issue is, and you weren't here last one, so I missed 3 meetings in a row because I have been tied up with clients and being at other towns' planning and zoning board hearings. That's part of my job. So additionally, I'm conflicted out a lot, so I think it would be difficult for me to serve as chair. I'm happy to be number 2, but if Jackie wanted to be number 2, as she's sort of been acting, then I would certainly defer.
Well, I can switch places with you. Because then you can be number 2. We just gotta find a number 1.
What about Brendan?
Brendan?
I like what I'm doing.
And you're very good at it.
People like me reading.
You're very good at it.
People like you reading. They do like you reading. So do we have to,
we
'cause
have
we don't
Mitch.
have-
He might
we have,
have
we don't have Mitch
That's a
here
good
this
point.
Desire.
evening.
Has indicated to me that he does not wish to hold an officer position. So the officer positions come from the full members, so obviously it wouldn't be the 2 of you, unfortunately. And Bill,
Right.
I don't think he would step up to that, just given his time commitments for work. So what we can do is we can kind of put a pause on it to give you folks some more time to think about it. And as chair, like I really do, the town, all planning and zoning staff do a lot to make, the chair's job as easy as it can be. So just keep that in mind too. If everybody wants to give that a little bit more thought, then we can continue the elections until next month and figure out how to go from there.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. Do I have a motion to end this meeting?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting adjourned.